Ooh, isekai.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Smudcast number 893. The problem with power fantasy anime. I'm assuming that's something to be said of a genre or an effect of a genre. I don't think I would call power fantasy a genre. I would call it maybe a technique or a trope within various genres. So I'm trying to see the inherent problem. I'm sure there is, but we have to get specific with individual shows. That's why I prefer people criticizing shows off the bat. And hopefully he's going to focus on like one or two and say these are the inherent problems with these shows because it's a power fantasy. So by itself, power fantasy is fine. There's nothing wrong with a power fantasy. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. Superman's a great power fantasy. So is Batman. So is all bunch of Western comic book characters. So there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I would imagine, though, when you read so much or watch so much, that you pick up on things and you go, oh, they're doing this thing again. That was boring last time. So
that goes for all tropes.
I think so. So this is, if he's more specific, I'll accept it. But if he's just being generic, like, oh, here's the male character and he's stronger than everyone else, you're like, yeah, that's fine. What's wrong with that? So I want to know why this is an issue for him, because he could have picked apart any isekai, any other kind of action adventure manga, and say what's wrong with it. That would have been fine. Anyway, this is from Mother's Basement, in case we didn't know. And this came out just 6 months ago. It has almost 712,000 views. And he's got a very, very healthy upvote ratio, like 98%. So very, very high up there. So it must have been good. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
I see Shield Hero on this image. I don't think that belongs there.
Solo leveling for sure. Shield Hero.
They'll both go through absolute shit. You can't say the same for Cheat Magician and Sword Art.
Right. What's the one?
Oh
in the
god, look
second?
at which reminds me, detail. I think that thing, the second from the left is Cheat Magician.
Oh yeah.
Look at the eyes.
I don't know what's going on with the eyes. Yeah.
I think that's the actual art quality.
Yeah.
I remember.
All the eyes are weird in this.
Did he edit that?
Probably not.
It looks like he did.
Really?
It looks like he did. But for this one, it would be justified. That thing.
Anyway, we can argue specific animes and their qualities, but as a whole, it's harder to say that. And I don't like saying, oh, the golden age of detective fiction has its problems, and here they are. But you still like it. You still read it. You still appreciate it. So if you can go that far, like we had with Tactical Bacon last time, he was saying how much he likes the gameplay of Spider-Man 2023 or Marvel Spider-Man 2 2023, but he'd rather play the previous games because there's more going on, even if the gameplay is not as good. So that's fair because you're comparing apples to apples, and he knows what he's talking about. And this is it seems like he's going to be taking a lot of big 10-foot or 10,000-foot looks of anime and going, this one has this thing I don't like, and that's a power fantasy that's stupid. And then he's going to have a different thing, and that's going to be another issue or quality. I don't know. I want to find out, because inherently there's nothing wrong with the power fantasy. There's good writing and there's bad writing. There's a good author and a bad author, and that's what it boils down to, not necessarily the genre itself. And,
just look at One Punch Man.
And it's not a genre. It is a element of a genres that can get out of hand. Okay, 33 minutes and a half. Let's go.
Power fantasy, dirty word in modern anime discourse. Toss that label at some folks' favorite show, and they're liable to toss you out a window. And to a certain extent, I get it. It's a phrase that calls to mind the filthy, stat-screen smothered bottom of the isekai barrel, the middest of mid-tier battle shonen, and
I don't see anything wrong with using stats in isekai. That's like part of the whole genre. And that
mainly a modern thing. That's just really a modern element in them.
Not necessarily a power fantasy thing. So, like Fatal Frame, he had horrible stats. He just had one unique ability, which was all of his status ailment attacks work. So his stats sucked. That's why he got kicked out of the Heroes Party and sentenced to die. So that's the irony of the story. That sets up the revenge plot, and then the power fantasy goes from there. So
Countless slapped together Potter likes about high concept high schools where tournament arc performance is like 80% of your grade. A whole lot of schlock that makes a whole lot of money. Cause after a long draining day at the business factory or learning prison, a whole lot of people just want to sit down, wind down, and live vicariously through a cool guy doing cool things until it's time for bed. This shit's like crack to our burned out monkey brains, and
I would not say anime is like crack to my monkey brain, sir. When I have nothing better to do.
I think he means the kickback power fantasy stuff. But you would also have to ask, isn't Frieren a power fantasy by the standards that he's putting on?
Frieren is definitely overpowered. She's super powerful. She's very old. And she beat the demon lord or demon king, whatever. So,
The demon.
The demon, all the demons. She kills them all.
like crack, it doesn't have to be particularly good so long as it gets you hyped. But that doesn't mean there's no such thing as fine-grain, high-grade cocaine, or that the difference doesn't matter. I probably could have picked a better metaphor for this. Point is, power fantasies can be made well, and even integrated into deep, intelligent stories with interesting things to say. They just aren't most of the time, so the term has basically become...
That's just Sturgeon's law. We've been over this.
Yeah.
Grow up.
I don't...
Most of the stuff is just bad.
Yeah. Most magical
Nothing
girl
new
shows are
with that.
crap.
Most mecha anime stuff is boring and redundant and derivative.
Most cars are crap.
Yeah, I want to know exactly, because this, again, if this was a genre, he'd have to be very specific, but this is an element of a genre or multiple genres. So it's like, okay, give me the thresholds where it becomes crap. You know, does Tuxedo Mask disappearing every time after he defeats the monster or gives Sailor Moon the option to win, is that like the seventh time too much for you? Like, what's the threshold for that? I want to know, because this is getting a little subjective.
synonymous with shitty anime. But maybe if we talk about what the ones that are do differently, one day there might be enough of the good shit for me to down a whole pint of it. But before we get to that, today's sponsor, Factor.
Oh my God, Factor. Okay, if you guys don't know what Factor is, it's complete meals. You heat it up, done. There's no cooking. There's no skill. They just give you food. It's basically a TV dinner that's not frozen.
In tasty plastic.
There's HelloFresh.
Eat plastic.
There's all kinds of other meal delivery systems where you actually have to learn to cook and they give you the fresh ingredients. Those are better. Choose any of those if you can't be bothered to go to the grocery store and do your own shopping. I get that. But this, no, don't buy Factor.
And you say a very important thing there. For learning to cook, those other things are useful because you don't have to look for all these million ingredients. Because that is overwhelming to some people who want to actually learn the stuff that their parents and grandparents didn't teach them.
As well, the various different recipes.
Yeah, and the recipes aren't, I mean, they're all very similar. There's always like rice or a grain or mixed with some protein, and that's fine. You can get vegetarians if you like. But this, do not even, like, go to a grocery store, make some mistakes with your purchases, deal with that at home, eat your meals, go, oh, I don't like spaghetti, or I don't like the sauce, or it's like, okay, great. Learn to make it yourself. Don't buy stuff. If you're going to buy stuff like this, go to a restaurant where it's fresh.
Yeah, or watch 10 seasons of Gordon Ramsay's shows, and then you will be bold enough to just throw a piece of meat into the pan and it will come out better than before because you realize, oh, I don't need to fry it for 10 minutes on each side on full throttle.
Watch, was it The Kids? That's a really good competition. All the kids.
Never seen the kids show.
They're so adorable. Gordon Ramsay's so nice to them. And they're
He's
really
nice.
He is super nice with the kids. That's why they got that Italian schmuck who was the son of the female Italian chef, because he was testing as too mean, so they had to get someone else who's worse than he is, so he can look good. So watch the kids competition. It's really fun. You will learn how to cook because these kids are unique in that their parents taught them or they learned themselves, and it's the simplest stuff. How to make an omelet. What a simple idea. There's lots of ways. So.
Yeah, I was totally surprised when he was gushing over. Oh, when you made a perfect call it mirror egg, sunny side up egg where the yolk is still all gooey, and that happens all the time. How do you not get that? I don't. How is it a masterclass skill? I don't get it. Anyway, when you order any of this, at least take it out of this plastic bin. Because if you heat it up in the plastic bin, you get even more microplastics into your food.
All right,
just don't heat up your stuff in plastic.
I skipped ahead. That was 2 minutes of just him trying to sell Factor. Anyway,
and don't scratch around in the plastic.
Sure.
1 sec.
Sure, Tetsuwan Atom is a beautiful human story about found family processing grief, the evils of war and discrimination, and our tenuous balance with the natural world, but Astro Boy is also a show about a little kid doing Superman stuff to beat up big scary robots, and if someone took a time machine back to 1963 to ask 100 Japanese children what they're watching the show for, I doubt Steve Harvey would give you a lot of points for saying the themes. And Power Fantasy anime have...
Well, at least he's honest. At least he realizes that. We don't need these big, deep shows for kids. This is fine the way they are.
They get Maya to be
rated shows on air basically ever since. At first mostly sticking to the same American superhero mold as Astro, though Tetsujin 28 Go laid the foundation for the more distinctly Japanese fantasy of controlling that big scary robot the very same year, and 1967's Sally the Witch would offer Japanese girls their own flavor of power fantasy in the nascent magical girl genre. Go Nagai then found incredible success taking all three concepts into edgier, etchier, more teen-friendly territory in the early 70s with Devilman, Mazinger Z, and Cutie Honey, and even as the decade wore on and anime for adults started to become a thing, power fantasies didn't go away. Mobile Suit Gundam,
I have trouble following because he's putting various things into the same sentence. Is he putting Cutie Honey into the power fantasy or not?
I think so.
Because I've lost track.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It seems like he does.
Then
yes.
yeah, okay. Then props to him. Also, that would be the official start of the magical girl genre.
All right. Here's a super chat from Gaw004. Thank you for the 2. Hi, Smud. Did you recommend the anime Monster before? Yes, that is on and off my first and second favorite anime of all time. So check it out.
And the most Germany accurate anime ever made.
Yeah, the names, the locations, yeah.
Schlecker does not exist anymore, by the way. It went bankrupt long before the coup.
Well, it's one
Big
of those
scandal.
slow burn suspense horrors that you don't get. I don't think we have any of those anymore. I can't think of any.
What I meant was the delivery truck, the transporter. That had the logo Schlecker on it, in blue, and that was a small like a mini mart chain in Germany.
Cool.
And we were all when we first saw this, we thought, whoa, they're Germany accurate anime.
Did they get they have to ask permission to use the label?
I don't know.
We have no idea.
I don't know.
Pepsi,
I think that chain, if they ever knew of it, they would probably be happy for the free advertisement because they only existed here, and it was also a scam.
Okay. Anyway, go check it out. It's one of the best.
of the 1980s turns the core conceit of those early mecha stories on its head, subjecting its teen pilot hero to heartrending loss and PTSD in a morally gray conflict with no real good guys, just less bad guys. But at the end of the day, Amuro is still an unstoppable warrior whose unrivaled, psychically enhanced skill in battle permanently bends the entire arc of history. And more broadly, if you strip away all the incredible world building that justifies the conceit, a Gundam's just a big metal guy stomping all over piddly metal tanks and sometimes buildings like Calvin the Mighty Giant. You can easily argue
That's a really bad way of describing Gundam, but jeez, especially
I
not
think
the,
his attempts to joke are a bit overloaded.
yeah, the past 20, 30 years of Gundam has nothing to do with that. It's a lot of war machines and nobility versus the people and old technology versus new technology. I mean, it's not just tanks. It's yeah.
I'm painting
the
that one
entire
right now.
real robot concept is just a series of elaborate mental gymnastics designed to drag the terrifyingly cold and impersonal world of modern warfare back to the mostly imaginary good old days of dueling knights, or more precisely samurai, when a few really cool guys could dominate a battlefield. And while the poignant human stories at the core of each Gundam entry are what make them worthwhile works of art, the allure of that slightly more grounded, grown-up fantasy is doubtless what draws many men to these shows at first, as assuredly as it puts butts in seats for every time.
Just to let you know, thanks for the Top Gun reference, because jet fighters are basically that. There's not a lot of those in the air in any given operation. Those are your, well, Gundams. They just don't look like them. But we'll see how that changes with drone warfare, because those things can do maneuvers that humans cannot survive. That's gonna be at the end of an era, and hopefully we won't perish as a civilization, species.
It's faster and cheaper to use drones, but I don't think drones are ever going to outpace an F-16. So it's gonna, unless they can.
Well, the drone can be an F-16 can be the drone
if they can. The thing is that the F-16 already has onboard computers for stabilization because it's already so powerful, and that thing's like
F-16 is so old.
I know it's super old, but it's so like they designed it to be so powerful that it can tear itself apart. It's so fast. So I don't know if you could put a computer on there and they'd do a good job or just get destroyed. Who knows?
Well, the problem with drones at this point, where we currently are, is that the electronic countermeasures are so good that they started using drones on cables. Very, 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 very long cables. Which sounds really, really silly. But we're currently entering the era of Neon Genesis Evangelion, just without the humanoid robots. But they are on cables, so that there cannot be electronic hijacking or scrambling against the signal.
That'd be some wild.
What are we doing?
That'd be some wild. We've seen the robots the past few months from China. If they could put that in some crazy theater of war, like I don't know, Taiwan, whatever they're going to do these past few years, it's like, okay, we got some robots coming over the ledge. You're like, oh shit,
I don't think Taiwan needs to worry about Chinese battle robots.
But they have their own.
Just look at the robots they use inside China, that they try to pretend that we're leading in robot technology, and it's all just the cheapest copies of 10-year-old models from the West that they can't even put together right.
You mean those clips when they show them running or playing football?
Yeah, or dancing or doing anything, and they're not robots, they're just robots.
You see like 10 seconds of really good footage, and like the rest of the time they're just falling over and like breaking.
Yeah, it falls apart and it spasms and then randomly attacks people because it's just acting out. And they also have in China, they have driverless delivery vehicles.
Yeah.
And they constantly cause traffic accidents of massive proportions.
Anyway,
Brilliant.
we're not here to talk about that, but it's getting to that point these days with driverless cars. Anyway, let's go.
Thanks to the shonen battle boom kickstarted by Dragon Ball and Fist of the North Star, and the magical girl resurgence begat by Sailor Moon, more adolescent power fantasies would eventually reassert their dominance in the late 80s and 90s, to the point that even Gundam started doing it. And that dominance would continue for decades through the rise of the Big Four and Pretty Cure, until SAO kicked off the big isekai/light novel boom of the early 2010s, and Kirito's officially supplanted Naruto's as the predominant.
Was it really Sword Art Online that kicked that off? Because I wanted to be anything else.
Couldn't say.
Dominant species.
Hex sign. A
trend that's given us some of the best and worst power fantasies anime has to offer, and carried on until right around now with the wild success of solo leveling, which isn't fundamentally
also only outside its country of origin. What? Like Sailor Moon as well, that was only really, really big in the West because it was one of the few magical girl anime we had at all. I think it was the only one at its. That's why it made such a big impact. Cutie Honey came to Germany much later.
Yeah.
Just as one example.
This idea of power fantasy is, he has to narrow it down. He's going all over the place with examples of, well, here's an isekai where this happens. Like, yep, fine. People don't watch it because it's a power fantasy. That's just one element. The same way they don't watch an isekai because it's an isekai. It's just the category of getting your, this is my foot in the door for fantasy, generic, science and sorcery sort of going on setting. And
isekai was, you would watch an isekai at the time before the genre was big for being an isekai.
Yeah, like think of using game mechanics explaining the magical system of the world. It's so simple. Everyone gets it. You don't have to spend pages and pages or episodes and episodes world building, explaining. It's just, it's a game. You're level 2. You got a level. Now he can cast level 2 fireball or whatever. It's so simple. So it speeds things up. People love gaming. It's a good combination of genres and media. And that's it. That's the simplest thing to use. People use it for other genres. They use it for adults. They use it for kids. All kinds of storytelling. And I think ReZero is one of the unique ones where they focus on the drama and the horrors of being reincarnated. So there's lots of ways they take that. But I don't see it as like having the power to know what's coming next or having a skill that no one else has is a fantasy. It's usually just the thing to get you in the door. And then it's the characters and their plots and why they're doing what they're doing is why you keep watching, not that they're superhuman or trying to be superhuman. Because the good stories have villains or forces that are bigger and stronger than the so-called power fantasy of the hero. So I don't...
Sometimes I think that the whole superpowered hero is used to kind of leverage other stuff. So, for example, in case I am reading like one manga, which is about guy that gets reincarnated, and he basically knows a lot of stuff, so he kind of prepares and all of that. The thing that is really great about the manga itself, for me, it's actually the sword fighting. Because it's drawn in a really dynamic way. It actually shows, the proper medieval techniques and everything. And it's very impressive. The story is a bit flat, you could say, but the fighting is what's actually keeping me interested. So I think that is something to that point too, in case of these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, what makes solo leveling stand out, for example, is not just, it's big power, he beats everybody in really cool ways. Well, for one, it needs to be really cool ways. You can't just be just powerful. And the writing is decent. And the background and animation quality is really, really good. That's what leads to the success of solo leveling.
Well, it's been around.
You can't say that about other things as well.
It's sort of like inevitable. Like, it's been around for over a decade. It's been hugely popular on the webcomic sphere. So people have been asking for this pre-COVID, for this thing to have an anime, and it took so long to finally get it, like 2-3 years ago.
Was that old? I didn't know.
It's even the one that I was watching this season, New Saga, that's like 2012. Like, it's like, wow, this is really well, and it is not a reincarnation. It's what's the story of a character who dies and goes back in time? And
regression.
Regression, yeah. So he's like 10 years in the past, and his same old body. He knows what's going to happen. So that's still a power fantasy because he knows he's not physically stronger. He has to develop to get to that level, but he knows what's going to come. So it's like, I don't have to worry about all this development crap of the villain because he knows who the villain is. And so long as he doesn't change the future too much, and he keeps on the past, so he'll save the princess, he'll save his friend, he'll save his future friend. Like, he'll do all these things in the right order, but faster. So that doesn't end up changing the future anyway. So that's kind of the, can he save the person having this knowledge? And half the time he doesn't. So it's always like this dramatic, sure, he's got power, he's got that insight and that memory that no one else has. So it's like that you're sort of along the ride with the protagonist, and he's sharing these secrets with you, and not any of his friends, because he has to keep it a secret. So there's lots of reasons to read these stories outside of, oh, the hero's really strong. And you can dislike that because it's goofy, like with Sword Art Online, because he's super strong and everyone else is really weak. But most stories that are good are not like that in the first place.
Different from all the video gamey isekai and progression fantasy slop that's already flooded the anime market, but the prospect of slapping Sung Jin Woo in the thumbnail for easy clicks is like half the reason I'm making this video, so it must be doing something right. Actually, I'd argue it does quite a few things right, better than most video gamey isekai and progression fantasy slop at least, though it also does quite a bit wrong. Given the title and premise, for instance, you probably wouldn't be surprised to hear that solo leveling is a prime example of the Kirito effect, where the insanely OP hero gradually overshadows and renders irrelevant everyone who once fought beside him, except sometimes his wife. So that
that's
which, if done right, leads to the necessity of a threat that can rival even that cannot be overcome by even that.
Yeah.
Which, at the end of season 2, you had.
It was a reverse isekai, meaning the war comes to South Korea.
To our world.
The fantasy world comes to the planet. And we need a Sung Jin Woo sort of character because bigger baddies are coming. And no one knows that. And not even he knows that. But all the time he fights a new sub-boss or a new boss, they're stronger than him. They are. Until he gets to, I think it was Meiju Island, where he fights Beru. And Beru is like this ultimate ant. And he's like, well, okay, he's testing to see how strong Beru is. He's not using his full power. But even then, he's like maybe a few levels higher. He's a few skills above him, but not much. He is stronger, just not much.
Yeah, and that's where the actual story of what is going on gets another trickle of truth revealed. Where was Beru just a player character from another race? And you get sentient creatures from the other races within the portals. That's where it starts to get interesting, because those people are likely as strong as he is.
Right.
Or even stronger still, because he only started and they've been at this for much longer.
And it plays with the idea that the administrator or the system itself, which is the game mechanics of whatever you want to call that, the status window, is testing humanity. It's actually saying, oh, can you survive? Because we've got these interstellar beings that are going to be arriving in a few years, and you got to be ready. And this is how they do it. And that's brutal. That's really sad. So it's not just some guy beating the shit out of everyone and being quiet about it. It's a guy, like he struggles for 100 levels in some hidden dungeon just to find components of an elixir so he can heal his mom, who's been on some sort of sickness that everyone knows about that no one can cure. Like that's like 3-4 chapters or 3-4 episodes to get to that point. So
is that basically the first season?
I think so. I can't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on. So it's not just I'm a strong guy or I have this, like he gets brutally killed in the first 2 episodes. And it's like, oh my God, this is horrific. And he's really weak, even though he has the access to the system. But the system like gives him that 24-hour cycle. It's like, you got to do your 10 push-ups or your 100 push-ups. You got to do your 100 sit-ups. You got to do your 10K run. Or we're going to send you to the Phantom Zone where you have to run away from giant centipedes.
Yeah. Great.
So
then you're forced to do that.
So it's not exactly a power fantasy as you start, but once he gets over that hump of like, okay, now I can survive, and then he has to learn how to fight and get a weapon, and then he kills the centipede, and then he gets a weapon from the centipede, and it's like, okay, now he's getting up there.
Yeah, he's basically, at this point, he's just equipped.
So you have to set it up, and it was set up. It wasn't just like a god snaps his fingers in an isekai, and boom, you can instant chant or chantless magic casting, whatever they want to. That's the most typical one. It's like, nope, he's just a guy, and he gets killed. He gets sacrificed for his team, and he ends up surviving that through the pact of the administrator.
The story basically starts with him instantly going through hell in his hero's journey. And now he's what we then witness is his continuous climb upwards.
Right.
When it's a really bad power fantasy story is when the hell is missing completely. Like my favorite example of horrible stuff, Isekai Cheat Magician. That has no hell. That's just you are in the other world now. You're awesome. Have fun.
I can use several examples. I'm only going to give one because I mentioned this before. It's called Noble Reincarnation. It's a manga. It is basically a Mary Sue from the get-go. It is just constant Mary Sue. It is progressively stronger versions of a Mary Sue as the story goes on. It is that bad. And it's so ridiculous that you can't, like the author must know what they're doing. It's that bad. So,
and Overlord, as cheesy as it is, has its own type of struggle in it that is this constant lingering fear of the main character to be found out by his overpowered NPCs that he actually doesn't know what he's doing.
That's kind of cute, actually. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that makes it fun because that's a psychological threat. That's nothing else. It doesn't matter how physically strong anyone is, or in fighting capabilities, magic doesn't matter. But the actual threat is a non-physical one, a psychological one. That's amazing because that can crack at any moment.
All right.
And be surprised to hear that Solo Leveling actually has a pretty good supporting cast. Not great, and most of them aren't much help in battle, but it does give them a lot of stuff to do that kind of moves the plot along, or at least helps Sung Jin-woo move the plot along. They have personalities and thematically relevant arcs that reflect and contrast his own development, and some even expand the world building a scooch. And even Jin-woo himself has a bit of a personality. Not a big one, especially not after he gets all stoic and badass and stuff, but he has clear personal motivations, family values, a little sister he cares about, not in an anime way. He even makes decisions motivated by that personality and his goals and needs that move the plot forward instead of it just sort of happening to him. And even the personality reduction.
So all he's doing is describing a properly set up story. It has nothing to do with the genre. This is just universal. Mm-hmm. So it just happens to be a power fantasy.
That kinder as he becomes more stoic and badass has a thematic purpose and stakes behind it, raising the question of whether all this monstrous power might be costing him his humanity. It's hard.
in a less extreme fashion.
That's one episode.
You could say almost the same thing, because, as you said, this just describes a normal story. You could almost say the same thing about the main character in Mushishi, which is a very chill anime about Japanese mysticism. And there's not that much happening, but the general thing of, oh yeah, when the character is young, he has more emotions, and then he grows more stoic as he understands the powers of the spirits more and helps people.
Yeah, it's kind of a power fantasy because he's the only one who knows what's going on, and everyone else is like, spirits? What? And he's like totally in that world, and he's concerned that if he goes to certain places that he'll influence it just by being there, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, but that's then where the term power fantasy just does not even apply anymore, and that's what makes it quite obvious that it shouldn't apply here either. Because by that logic, you could just say, well, the life of Nikola Tesla is a power fantasy because he had all this amazing knowledge and building these amazing things that nobody else could. Yeah, that's not a power fantasy. That's just dedication and skill.
Togashi, but it's a hell of a lot this guy everyone thought sucked rocks actually anime. Still, it does kind of go to show just how bad the character writing in modern power fantasies has gotten that I'm willing to praise Sung Jin Woo for only being a partial audience insert character, for having family-oriented motivations that are merely designed...
What's a partial... audience inserts? Like, what is...
He means a blank slate character that we can project ourselves onto because he has no personality at all, thus we could be him. Any of us. And
really? No. This guy
It seems so.
That's such a weird... He gets brutally killed the first episode. What the hell, dude?
Well, didn't you go through that when you were a kid? I thought that's normal.
As an infant, maybe. Everything was terrifying. Anyway.
Yeah.
Universally relatable as possible, instead of just being an awkward Asian teenager-shaped blank slate who can make nerdy references sometimes. For being surrounded by people who I could actually see being in like an okay K-drama instead of bad carbon copies of the author's top 10 favorite dating sim conquests. Somehow, isekai, and I can't believe it's not isekai writers, have gotten it in their heads that unless a hero looks and acts exactly like a ChatGPT amalgamation of their target audience, that audience will never be able to relate to them or get into the escapism. And
Wait, that's nonsense.
That's
just narcissistic, your narcissistic projection, because that's how narcissistic women want their characters to be. We can actually relate to all of the characters. We can relate to Lena Inverse, who's a very weird woman. Is Layers a power fantasy?
I don't know. Yeah, there's an anime right now called The Water Magician, and the guy dies, and he just wants a peaceful life, and everything is peaceful. He's in his cottage. The god gave him this little piece of land, and eventually he says, well, you're going to have to hunt eventually because the food's going to be used up, but you can just go over there. And he wants to grow. He wants to learn. But as a result of that, he's no longer he goes to places where war is. But he has this extreme control over water magic, for example. And he had to learn how to do that by himself. But the gods gave him the ability to learn as much as he wanted because he wanted to just, fend for himself. So he's not really changing the world, but because he doesn't want to live a big crazy life. He doesn't want to take over a kingdom, but because demons are coming and demons are super powerful and he wants to save people, he's like, okay, I guess I gotta save some people here and there. I'll stop the demons. But it's never front and center. There's so many other characters doing a bunch of other things, raiding dungeons and trying to do magic stuff. And he's just sort of in the background, just learning his own thing about the world. He just wants to live his own life. And that's very similar to a lot of other slow life isekais. Only in this case, he's a little bit more involved, just in a very nonchalant sort of way. So it is a power fantasy, but that's not why you watch it. It's just one element of like 7 that or patterns of or tropes that you would be like, okay, I get that. I see what's going on. And his personality is weird. Like he's super sensitive about names. He's like, I never want to be part of that kingdom. That name sucks. You're like, what? What is wrong with you? They're humans. Humans are stupid. Like, what? So
I agree.
There's lots of funny things about him, and you can understand where he's coming from because all he wanted to do was chill and just, wow, look at that. Look at this really cool thing. And what's the history of the world? And, oh, there's elves, but elves are different. And they're mysterious and they don't talk to people, but they're like me. They like books. And okay, cool. Anyway.
I really don't know where that idea came from because shonen anime and mecha have never had that problem. And the most successful, acclaimed isekai and fantasy anime out there are also...
There are plenty of overpowered characters in mecha anime. And that's where it came from, I guess. Look at all the Gundams. There's always a
bringing in comedy is that doesn't count because comedy is over the top.
It's new. It's a different genre. You can combine. I guess you can combine romance and comedy fairly easily because they're the biggest into any other genre. So,
well, Lovina is obviously a power fantasy.
Theoretically, you could say Eminence in the Shadow is a power fantasy, but it's also a comedy in how disconnected the main character is from the events that are happening around him.
It is. It's almost okay. It is a parody, I would say.
Yeah,
and because the character doesn't know anything, and he says he just says, "Oh, there's a dark group trying to take over the world." He's just making that shit up, and then there actually is a dark group trying to take over the world. Like, whoa, was that ironic? Is that just because it's funnier that way and the writer wanted that? I don't know, but it's entertaining, and the stupidest shit happened. I have to be strong enough to survive a nuclear bomb. It's like, what? I have to learn magic or it'll kill me, and it kills him. You're like, what? I don't understand what's happening. So a lot of dumb stuff happens in that story. You just sort of go, okay, I guess he's just super powerful for no reason. But it's fun. It's silly. It's there to make you laugh.
I think the main problem, sorry to cut into your point, the main problem with this video is, again, something that we see from time to time. When someone starts tackling, you could say, a certain genre and says that the genre is the problem, instead of pointing out that the problem is bad writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because we had this a couple of times already, I think, with different genres that people said, yeah, this is why everything is wrong now.
I guess. I mean, with power fantasies, there's the idea of power creeping, meaning you have to keep fighting stronger and stronger enemies, which means the character can be stronger than those enemies, or their unique skill or ability, like ingenuity or guts or endurance, allows them to keep going. Like with I Parry Everything, that show where the guy is so dumb because he didn't have any teachers to help him out very well, that he trained for so long that he could parry like dragons, and he thinks he's not good enough because he's never done it before. And there must be heroes out there, and there must be whole legions of armies that can defeat him. But he's turning like 300 men into a whirlwind by parrying one guy, and you're just like, okay, is this a comedy? Is this supposed to be like that? So there's this sort of naivete from the main character that you're like, all right, he is a moron, but he can't be that blind. Like, it's not an issue of intelligence. It's just like, look, you just took apart a mountain with parrying a sword attack or whatever. Do you understand how strong you are? Does this make any sense? I understand. So it's kind of silly. And he uses his sword to like shovel shit out of the rivers and all this stuff. You're like, what the hell is this guy doing? So there is an element of goofiness, and it's fun for the animators to do goofy things like explosions and whirlwinds and mountains cutting in half for the heck of it. And once you understand it, like, okay, don't take it so seriously. When you watch Eminence and Shadow, don't take it so seriously. The animation's amazing. The character is doing it for the lulz, and that's it. He's bored. He wants to have fun, and he likes his shadow self, or what does he call it? The guy in the background. He's always not the main character. He wants to always play out that role. That's funny.
Pretty instantly the ones with eccentric, entertaining, and memorable heroes. I don't know what light novel writer needs to hear this, but humans can relate to other humans who aren't exact carbon copies of them. Most of us find that interesting.
Yeah, strange. That guy has white hair and red eyes. How can anyone relate to him?
The one, if you guys don't know that one, this is a long-standing show called Is It Okay to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, which is a pretty stupid title because it's no longer about that. Maybe that's the first 2 episodes. And a lot of these shows, a lot of these mangas are like that. That's fine. But he's so naive and he's so innocent and pure that he does not realize or doesn't have the adult concept in his body that girls he saves fall madly in love with him. And he's saved, like, I don't know, 8 now? 7 or 8? And he doesn't know what to do with them. So he just sort of
stopped at about 2nd season, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's so silly. And so now there's like a movie, I think. I don't know if they're doing anything else with this guy. But there's so many, like the world he's in, the city he's in is so big. And there's so many clans and familias and things he's trying to fight. There's the gods who are they're real gods and they have families and they never die and there's all this crazy stuff going on, and it's like, dude, you realize you can't be a kid forever. Like, you're gonna have to like grow up and become a level 5 or whatever the hell your adventure class is. And they had the thing with this little dagger. It grows, but there's no story there. They just sort of forgot about that, and they just finished an arc where it was the goddess Aphrodite, I think, and she fell in love with him, but he's a moron, so he doesn't know how to deal with that, and she's a conniving trickster, and she has to figure out this whole war game. It's just this huge, big setup. You're like, wow, all because this guy couldn't figure out relationships. So it's sort of obvious what's going on, but it's the spectacle of this kid who's trying to be an adult, doesn't want to be an adult. But that's not the problem of the story. That's just his character. So the world just sort of accepts that. You're like, oh, really? You have goddesses fawning over you. You have girls who are partial goddesses following. You have magical beings. It's like, okay.
That never happened to you, Smud?
It's like, this is, you could push it, but this is getting, like, it's not a harem, but it's pretty much a harem just externally. And it's just like,
yeah, look. Okay, he's a bit autistic, okay? He just doesn't notice. It's normal for our kind.
Oh God! And the girl,
they have to literally sit on his lap and tell him, "I want you," and it's not a joke.
And
otherwise, he won't get it.
The one girl he doesn't admire because she's beautiful and into him. It's because she's stoic and a really good sword fighter. You're like, oh, okay. So he's professional. He's like, I just want to fight. Like, okay. Anyway, I got problems with this anime.
It's cute.
Kind of the entire basis of storytelling? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This plague of wish fulfillment-driven blank slate characterization unfortunately goes hand in hand with...
Yeah, blue hair. Blue eyes maybe, but blue hair? Who has blue hair? Who can relate to this person? According to his accusations, it's impossible. Like the white hair, red eyes, that's at least an albino. There are 5 of those on the planet. But blue hair? Come on.
Another problem facing modern power fantasies, no one seems to have any fucking patience anymore. Instead of lingering in the early and mid-level adventures, which every RPG player knows are the most fun part of...
I don't... What there's lots of slow-moving isekai. There's lots of slow-moving power fantasies. What is he talking about?
Name 3.
Well,
And too many anime these days are champing at the bit to kit their hero.
I can name more than 3, but I'm just saying, like, maybe not animes. I know mangas.
Do it.
Okay. SSS Class Suicide Hunter. It's one of my favorites. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. It's one of my favorites.
really good.
Jobless Reincarnation. That's a slow-moving manga. Beginning After the End. Realist Hero Saves Rebuilds the Kingdom. I can't remember the whole title. That's slow moving. My favorite is out of all those is I Became a Tyrant of a Defense Tower Game. That's really cool.
It's a great title.
It's so good. Honestly, it is slow moving, but it's so good. I love it. There's a lot. I can't. It's Solo Max Leveling Newbie. That's definitely a power fantasy. That is 100% a power fantasy.
Okay.
I think the idea here is that the hero gets very, very, very competent very quickly and knows what to do in most of the situations. And sometimes he has just overwhelming force very early on.
Right.
And the animes try to get to that by the end of the first season. Realist Hero, for example, by the end of the season that was out, the first one, he had already brought television everywhere and won several wars without fighting or with fighting, and had dragons and all of that nonsense. I don't remember too clearly, but it was pretty over the top already.
Well,
the anime was not that slow moving.
Yeah, most of those have a training arc, or like you have a childhood arc, and you have to learn and train and get a teacher, that sort of jazz. So in a lot of these, they get reincarnated into their favorite game or their favorite book, or they're starting as an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they know the setting. So that's their bonus. They know it's going to happen, or they know the lay of the land already. But they're just a kid. Like the one I like is the Terminally Ill Genius Dark Knight. And the game world is, if you give yourself a gift, like a positive trait, the game gives you a negative trait. Like that. So if you stack too many positive traits, you're going to get a series of negative traits. So what he did is because he loves the game, he knows how it works, he gave himself like genius sword fighter, genius this or that. But the game gave him this terminally ill disease, and the only way to appease it is to kill. So he has to kill any living thing to give himself like an extra day. So like, I don't know, killing a mutant dog will give him a few hours or something. So he has to like figure out how to find magic abilities or magic items that can boost that. So he's
lots of jellyfish.
He's just constantly slaughtering and looking for excuses to go hunting to kill stuff so he could increase his lifespan. So there's lots of good stories out there, and they are power fantasies, but they're not just pure power fantasies. There's not just like he's a Superman versus idiots.
Chat, please be so kind as to after the stream, somebody put that list of suggestions in a comment. I'll bug Smut to pin it.
Sure. I'll give some too.
Him off to fight God, or at least a super boss or two, before his hometown's even burned all the way down. The instinct's understandable. People are here for cool guys doing cool things, right? So the cooler things get, the faster, the better. But in reality, that rush for instant and maximal gratification hamstrings these shows' ability to make their guys and things cool at all. Brandon Sanderson, Western fantasy's preeminent power fantasy purveyor, built his entire empire on the back of 3 rules.
Yeah, but he's not perfect. I've listened to a few of his lectures. They sound, I don't know if they're juvenile or they're just like, okay, that works for that specific idea. Like one of his things he didn't like was show, don't tell. Like that's a rule you could break. I'm like, you can break any rule. But the way he described it was like, well, it's faster to just tell. I'm like, yeah, it is. You're missing the point. You would never do that. It's like, well, what if I just say, he said, as opposed to he said sorrowfully, or he cried out, or it's like, well, no, there's reasons why you use those adverbs. And he didn't like that. I was just like, what is up with this guy? I'd love to sit and talk with him about that because it's such a simple thing. But show don't tell is like this universal thing. And unless you have a really good reason to break it, and his explanation was not very good. But yeah, he's a great writer. I'll give him that for fantasy.
If you just want to tell because it's faster, that's called a synopsis. That's not a story.
Yeah.
An author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. What powers can't do is more interesting than what they can, and expand on what you have before you add something new.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with those rules, but that doesn't mean that every manga writer has to follow them. And it doesn't mean that all their writing is going to suck or that the audience will understand what's going on.
The thing with escalation is usually that, oh, you have a new awesome thing that happens that was within the confines of the rules or is a stronger version of that. Anime is doing that.
Yeah, I mean, with Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint as well as SSS Class Suicide Hunter, they know the world so well, especially the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, because he's read the book. He knows who everyone is pretty much, and he's sort of jumping alongside the real hero of the story because he's just a reader and now he's in the world. So he's sort of like doing what the hero would do, but with his own spin. So he knows where all the shortcuts are, at least the first few scenarios, and then after that, it's all just whatever he comes up with. But the problem with stories like that is the power level is so huge. And we're talking about South Korean and Chinese manga. They have concepts of ascension, and they have the gods, and they call them constellations. And the constellations are gods who are bored, and they're watching scenarios, and the scenarios are the battlegrounds of myths. So that the gods want to create new myths or new stories that are exciting, and they will be named after each other, and this sort of thing. So
they can also lend some of the power to the contestants.
It's a game to them. So there's coins. So they give out coins to the mortals, and that allows them to buy whatever they need for their challenges. And that's
the gacha shop.
Sometimes there is a gacha shop, something like that. Yeah, yeah. So it's like this is a common. These are very like Japan has isekai. South Korea has reverse isekai constellation power ranker people. I don't know what they're called.
They like using various myths from around the world and creating their own fantasy universe.
It's insane.
Because there is one I have started reading like a few days ago, and it also like uses Olympus, uses the Norse mythology, uses the Chinese stuff.
Yeah. It's like
they really like it.
Enough.
It's like Neil Gaiman went, one mythos. We need all of the mythos. We need Egyptian. We need Norse. We need we need ancient Chinese. We need parts of Indian. We need other parts of India. I was like, what the?
You're talking my language.
There's so many forces, and they all have weird names, and they don't like Odin is not Odin. It's like the man of Olympus or whatever. It's like, what the? And they all, like this one I'm reading, it's a total ripoff. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The Regressed Genius creates mythic items. It is a ripoff of that category or genre with Full Metal Alchemist and I regressed and created mythic items. Like it's like these three things. And it's such a blatant ripoff. But the art is very good. Storytelling's fine. The power progression makes sense. And they're walking that fine line of not being too stupid, which kind of sucks because they're forced in. They've boxed themselves in. They only have one way to go. There's not much variation. So these things exist. They're ripoffs of ripoffs. And there's nothing.
I want to racketeer magic item shop for heroes manga.
There's probably an iteration of a reverse isekai from South Korea that does that already. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway.
Self-explanatory, while the other two help make your power system exposition dumps actually matter to the reader. Giving a power clear limitations makes its application feel less...
Yeah, that's That's what the Japanese are completely obsessed about. The rules of their things. That's why they give you 5 minutes of exposition of how a thing works every fucking episode. Have you not noticed that?
Yeah, so that when the villains do some amazing attack that's just crushed entire cities before, with was it Moonless or Moonlight Fantasy, or I can't remember the name of the isekai, and they're super powerful and they have this dragon sword and the guy just like blocks it. You're like, what? It's like, oh yeah, I have 10,000 times more mana than anything else on the planet. It's like, I can do that with the dragon sword.
Yeah, that's, I think, Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy or something
Moonlight
like that.
Fantasy, yeah, exactly. And it's that fight scene with the two guys, and he's like, he lost 2 fingers, and that's like because the fingers had the rings on them that were suppressing his magic. It's all gushing out, so he's like ripping them in pieces.
Well, the guy basically made a physical manifestation of mana due to how much of it he has.
Yeah, he turned it into an arrow, and he's just launching missiles, and they're just blowing up. Yeah,
Leland did the exposition for this the proper way by blending it into the story before all of it was necessary, not as blatant exposition to the audience, which is how they usually explain it in their battle scenes, but by teaching fan defense magic and only later on actually needing it for getting rid of the old demon general that was just temporarily, for 80 years, imprisoned. And in that also giving more lore about the world and how the magic had developed, or the magic knowledge of the non-demons had developed, so far beyond what this super mighty demon general was at the time of his reign, of his imprisonment. That's how you do this right. You have it within the flow of the story, of the characters, of the world. The way anime and tokusatsu generally does it is just, hey, I am here now, I'm gonna do this thing, and it works this way. Oh, I'm gonna do the other thing, and it works this way. And it's totally better than your thing. And I'll counter with the other thing, which is basically just how children play when they play with their super robots. One has the super duper laser, and the other has the super duper shield, and I have the anti-shield rocket, and I have the deflection of the anti-shield rocket, so my shield still stands. Haha!
Yeah,
and it goes on. That's just how children play.
It's kind of like the manga Overgeared, where it's so like the power scaling keeps going and going and going, and they use the leveling system as well. But because he has like these mythical items he's created, and he shares them with his team, they can do like, they can get past level barriers, they can get past immunities, but it all makes sense. And they take a long amount of time to go into all the detail of the gaming world they're in to explain, this is a hidden class, no one else can make stuff like this, and he has to train to learn a new technique to, let's say, magic forging or whatever he's trying to do to make even his NPC soldiers like super powerful because they have all this decked out armor.
I mean, the interesting main idea is that everyone just relies on the crafting system, and then they see, wait, you're actually smithing stuff.
Yeah, he's making it, yeah. And he has to go find the minerals himself. It takes these whole storylines just to find mithril or whatever. It's like, finally. It's funny, but they put so much effort into world building, and it ties it in with smithing.
I love that. It's a bit of a tangent, but I really love that about Log Horizon, where all the player characters transported to that world, they could summon food, and it would all look amazing, but as a cantrip, but it tasted like nothing, and all that the NPCs ate also tasted like nothing, but you could actually learn to cook properly with things that you found in the world, and that would then taste amazing, like real food basically, and that would start its own economy, because nobody wanted to eat the filling but tasteless, wonderfully looking summoner food. That was great. Yeah, do more things like that.
That's a comment. Well, there's an entire storyline. The middle-aged man lives a slow life, I think, and he just
Which one?
I don't know I don't know the rest of the title, but essentially
There's a few of those.
he starts off as a merchant and he orders things through like his own version of Amazon, and it's like condiments and food.
Is it the one with the Fenrir?
Not that one, but it's
Okay.
It's very close to that one. They're very similar,
Yeah,
right?
there is a few of those. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, this is the one where he befriends a merchant's daughter, and she really sees his value, and he ends up like summoning an industrial digging machine, and he ends up digging his own house, and he uses it in battle. Then he summons a motorcycle. He summons a SUV. And he goes around the country because the nobles want his power, and he's just like, I just want to eat well and sell soup. It's just like that's all I want to do. So all these women, and they treat it respectfully. He does have intimate relations, but that's it. They don't go into detail. Some of the girls joke about it, and there's like cat girls and whatever. But it's sort of like they see like this guy is a noble, like he made himself as a noble, so of course he's going to have concubines. But he doesn't treat it like a big deal. It's just part of the story. And he's more interested in people leaving him the hell alone so he can research gemstones and make tasty things for his women, because all the women are like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. It's called gumbo, or it's called, I don't know, what's the curry? It's always curry. It's got to be curry rice or something. And all the girls love curry. They never had it before. And they'd rather be paid in food and booze than anything else. I can't remember what it was. They turned it into an anime last season, I think.
As we say, love goes through the stomach.
Yeah. Anyway.
Leads to satisfying aha moments for your audience when a character finds a creative workaround for those limitations. Refraining from making up a bunch of powers, meanwhile, forces you to use more of those workarounds and ensures the audience won't get overloaded trying to remember all of the different powers that everyone has. So when an anime kicks off by giving its hero the power to copy powers, or hands him a bag of holding full of 80 different magic tools and enchanted pieces of equipment, or has him montage grind his way through 20 different VR MMO skills in half an hour, even if you flash up a stat screen with the name.
Solo leveling doesn't have that many. There's basically one episode. About every new thing, there's one episode. There's not more than two. Or no, there's not more than one per episode, I would claim. And yeah, other than that, the only things that I would say are overloaded are the battle shonen things when they go into their tournament arcs. And you have 3 new characters in an episode against 3 other characters in the episode that are all the side characters. And you get told all their super magical powers and character traits and blood types and zodiac signs. I'm talking about you, Naruto, and My Hero Academia. Yeah, that is overload. But this isn't. This is a bad example of overload.
And for all of the things that he just got, the only person who will ever remember that is the guy filling out the wiki. You may as well have explained nothing and just given him a magic genie with infinite wishes. Shangri-La Frontier is a great example of how restraint and focus in building your hero's skill set and equipment can pay off, but the same copyright trolls who took down Zenshu from the...
I wouldn't say Shangri-La is that clear. There's lots of items. There's lots of unique things they have to, like, they're fine. If you kill a certain unique boss, you get a certain gift and a certain talent.
There is a lot of thought put into that.
Oh yeah, it's just there's a lot to follow. So his problem is, like, his example is not the best compared to Mashable or even Solo Leveling. Like, they showed the equipment system, but everyone forgets about the equipment system about like the 5th or 6th episode. We just know he has equipment on, but it's invisible. So
yeah, because it's not a big part of the events that are happening in the Shangri-La. It's extremely important for him to use correct stuff.
His entire build is a luck, agility based, a dual wielding guy. I think?
Yeah.
Bloody rogue.
Yeah.
Like a complete glass cannon.
Yeah. It's like he explains that in the first episode, I think. He's going to do that because he's bored. He's so bored. He has to play a game that's challenging. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, well, okay.
It's just high autocrit.
Video this winter are all not risk playing any clips. Solo leveling does a pretty decent job of this too, though. Between the invisibility, buffs and debuffs, enchanted weapons, manifesting those weapons, plus potions and other stuff out of thin air, necromancy, and push-up related teleportation, one could argue that Sung Jin-woo has perhaps too many powers, but it's still few enough that you can remember what they all do. There's a
lot. He has. I can't remember what all the equipment does. He actually gets his skill when he's fighting Baru powered up while he's using it, and I was like, is that eviscerate? It's like some like double attack, and it turns into like a multi attack, and you're like, okay, what was that? But
most of his skills that he learns are immediately useful in the episode he gets them. What helped him against Beru is especially, and that you may have forgotten about that by that point, is his immunity to poison.
Yes.
That is the one thing, that one of the first skills he got at the very, very, very beginning, and it's now come in his, at this point, final boss fight that saves him the day. And that I think is a great, great little device.
The difference is that kicks in like 5 or 10 seconds late. Like it gets poison, it slows him down, and he's like, nope, I'm good. So there's like a delay for some reason.
It's for dramatic effect.
I guess. It's like, oh, I'm poisoned. It's like, no, I'm not. What?
Oh, wait, I'm not. Yeah.
Not much overlap between them, and each one is highlighted prominently when he gets it, so you have a chance to learn what they do. And if there's one thing that all the light novel, manga, and anime writers who definitely aren't watching this video should take away from it, it's that this is how you make the power part of your power fantasy feel satisfying. Well, this and having stupid awesome action animation, but if you're banking on that, you're
I think for that one, the author could have clarified, maybe he didn't think of it right away at the very beginning, that there's a delay to the cleansing that this thing, that the skill does, because it's not poison immunity. It's that he gets, in practice, the effect is he gets cleansed a few moments after being poisoned. It first has to be detected, and then it gets then the debuff gets dispelled, basically.
I always wondered when they had to do the exercises before he gets sent to the penalty room. Did they say, "Oh, that's not a full push-up. You got to do all the way chest to the ground," or
Ooh.
"That's not a full sit-up. You got to bring your chest to your knees." You know, that would have been like, "Hey, I just did 100 of the." No, they're all 0. You get 0 to 100. Sorry, do it again.
Yeah, but he can see his counter going up when he does it the right way. So. But it is okay.
Personal trainer going, do it again. 5 more sets of 10. Go. It's like, oh.
Failure. And even if you are lucky enough to some money for your production, your story needs to be more and less than stupid awesome sometimes. Back when I was studying game design at Vancouver Film School, one of the concepts the teacher...
First mistake. You went to university to study game design. Don't do that. They don't teach.
He went to film school to learn game design.
Oh god!
Yeah.
I missed out. Oh god, that's even worse.
Yeah.
You learn game design by loving video games, or board games, or both.
Concepts the teachers were keenest to drill into our heads was the interest curve. Longtime viewers might remember me talking about this at length in my Haikyuu.
See, that's a problem. You learn about these weird things, not about what makes the game cool.
I never
by how it feels cool.
I never learned the interest curve when I was studying video game design. I don't know what he's talking about.
That sounds like something some marketing asshole would teach you.
Yes. I'm not sure, actually. Maybe
it sounds like something that pushes you towards stuff like New God of War,
Yeah, how do
Or
I
you
make my players addicted to my game? We don't want that. We just want to make the game cool, and that does it by itself.
We had in my teaching, we had a game journalist at the time who was actually pretty good. And he was with Elec Play, which was the Tommy Tallarico and the other guy. He was in North America. It was the only TV show that did game reviews for like.
You mean an actual game journalist?
Yeah, he worked with them, and he would get the games online. So he would do the online component, and they would do the TV component. And one of the arguments that he held a lot from a lot of other critics was like, when you play a game as a reviewer, if the first 10 minutes are not fun, you always ask the question, what would happen if 10 ninja or 100 ninjas came out of the sky and just were dropped into the scene? Would that make it better? And if it's yes, then the game is not worth playing.
But that's Senran Kagura.
It depends. It depends on the setting, because some games are slow to set up, and some games they're nothing but ninjas, right? So it's like, he also made the argument that a lot of games, like the demos he would play, they would be like an hour long, and you would eventually get to like the fun part, which is like the last 10 minutes, and you unlock like the rocket launcher. And he says, if they start from there, if the game starts you with the rocket launcher and then cranks it up from there, then you'd have a fun. And this is just a basic example. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a missile or whatever. If you start with something fun, go from there, because that's what fantasy authors. Brendan Sanderson actually talked about that, because what he does is he wants the fun thing first. He said, I'm going to make this amazing, cool scene with a magic knight, and he's got a magic shield, and he can deflect magic with it. And then he spends the next 2 chapters explaining where that magic knight came from, what the magic system is for that shield, and why that's a commonplace thing in the world. So there's a narrative element of keeping your readers interested as the story goes, and that involves logic and wrapping your brain around the fantasy, whether it's magic science or science fantasy, doesn't matter. And then there's the gaming component of, what happens in Half-Life 2 when they take away all my guns? They give me the gravity gun. Like, oh, cool. And you have to learn a new mechanic. So it's like they're throwing you into environments you're not familiar with, but they're making it fun. They're making it worth your while. So I don't know if he's talking about narrative hooks or gameplay mechanics that are showing themselves through a tutorial or chapter 2, but I've never heard of the term interest level, because that sounds as if you're monitoring
curve
the audience and going, are they bored yet? Are they bored yet? Let's have the ninjas drop in. It's like, no.
I'm not sure how well it relates to this, but general recommendation, it just popped into my head. And by this point, older game. It's not that big. Check out Antechamber. ANTE Chamber. It's a wonderful game that scrambles your expectations. And then re-scrambles. And then re-scrambles. Very fun.
All right.
9 years ago. Video. Anyway, to give you the short version, intense emotions evoked by media only feel as intense as the difference between the thing you're experiencing now and the last thing you experienced. A gunfight.
I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, this sounds like you are trying to go into, the spikes of excitement. You need to go next big scene and the next big scene. And then in between that, you put completely random and slow moving dialogue without any way for you to skip it.
Yeah, the idea of power scaling is a mechanic in gameplay, meaning you have to have stronger and stronger bosses based off what you just learned. Like with a Metroidvania, for example, you unlock a certain skill that opens up the map, and now you could use that skill against the boss, and that's how you, like Zelda, that's how you learn to use skills. But action doesn't have to be more action-packed. Like the explosions don't get bigger, and the things falling over don't have to be like the 20-story building is now it's a 30-story building. It's like, ooh, no, not at all. That's when I say, that hour-long demo and last 10 minutes you unlock the rocket launcher, that doesn't mean you unlock a double rocket launcher in 20 minutes from then. No, it means you unlock something else that is relevant to the game as the story goes and as the gameplay goes. So fighting a boss, the hook shot, that's not a bigger rocket, it's just a different tool. You unlock different tools to solve the problem, and then you incorporate that into game design for traversing or a narrative element. It's like an heirloom. It's a weak weapon, but it has a lot of sentimental value. That sort of idea. So, yeah, I don't think that's a good rule. It has to be bigger than the previous thing. It's like,
Breaking out after a tense standoff in a bar, for instance, is going to feel a lot more exciting than the exact same gunfight following a giant robot beating a kaiju to death. If every scene is 10 out of 10 intense, it feels just as monotonous as every scene being a 1. Steady.
No. The intensity has to have value, and the challenge to the audience has to have grit, meaning the challenge to the characters has to have some level of grit, or else it's just like monotonous. Then it is boring. There has to be a stake involved, why they're doing what they're doing. If they lose, so you know what's the value of the outcome. So long as you explain the plot, and then this is storytelling. This is not gameplay. As long as you explain why they're doing what they're doing and what happens if they lose, then you're going to be excited. You're going to be like, oh my God, this girl's going to die. We got to save her. And it doesn't matter how you save her, so long as the opponent loses. And that's where you get into the kind of game you want to play and how you solve the problems. That's why we like games like Deus Ex. There's multiple options. Or why we like tactical games. I'm not a huge fan of turn-based games, but the great thing about that, depending on how diverse they are, like Final Fantasy Tactics, you can build up your team beforehand. You have a mage do this, you have an archer do that, you got a tank coming in, and you're ready to overcome whatever is available, even though you have no idea what's coming. That's part of the fun, without using narrative elements. So, does the gameplay allow you to have a strategy in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Does the story provide you intensity and stakes for the characters and what they're involved in? That is necessary as well. You don't have to, but it would definitely add to wanting to play the game. We talk about Planescape Torment, how we always want to know what's happening next to what's around the next corner that we'll learn about ourselves. What's some enemy we pissed off that's hunting us down still. That's even if the level looks like crap and it's all gray and black. Now it's brown and black. Wow. It's like, we still want to know what's highlightable. Oh my God, it's an arm.
And why is the succubus a virgin who wants to remain chaste?
It's great.
Why? What's going on there?
Works
That's
a
weird.
lot better, but after a while, that can also get predictable and exhausting. You need to give your audience downtime to process the crazy shit that just happened and reset their calibration for what counts as crazy. Plus, just going straight from one to...
I just realized...
of course, you need to oscillate.
I just realized he had music. I was like, what? It's so off.
10 with a boring intro. So the optimal approach is to hook people in with like a level 6 or 7 scene so they know how exciting your thing can be, but you still have somewhere to go from there, then ease off to a 1 or...
What are you talking about? Gurren Lagann begins with a scene from the future, the end stage of the anime, where they're in space, shooting down armadas of enemies, and then it goes to the actual beginning where they are in the cave and have nothing, where it's actually starting.
I still dislike this anime.
That's fine. That's completely fine. It's basically Neon Genesis in less stupid, which says a lot.
It's a lot less stupid. It's like
building. It is otherwise exactly the same. It is the same characters. It is the same idea overall. Fascinating.
Thanks for telling me that. Now I don't have to ever watch Eva.
You don't have to. There's no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, Misato dies. Okay? That's about it. That's all I care about.
Rei also dies several times. She's basically Kenny.
Ritsuko dies probably. Yeah, everyone dies. Don't worry.
Yeah. Also, only if you were still in your teens, anyone would expect you to spend time with that anime at any point. If you're older than that, there's no point falling for it.
It's yeah. Everyone turns into LCL or just a big
Everyone is goop.
pool of water. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great story. Let's keep going.
Up in a series of escalating peaks and valleys until you're hitting 9s and 10s in your climax. I learned this in terms of like difficulty spikes and big set piece moments and level design. You know, the Asylum Demon
Did this guy have time to make games like that? I don't think so. There's no way that you could learn to do dramatic stuff in video game school and produce it while you're in school. Like, it's not. You have so little time to do things. You have to learn an engine. You have to learn the language. You have to learn learn 3D modeling and animation, and UV unwrapping and all this other crap. There's no time for let's build a story. It's like you can try, but you're not going to implement 1% of it.
The Asylum Demon is a joke.
Yes.
souls are dangling off that train in Uncharted 2, but it applies to all forms of media and all kinds of emotion. Think of how the instruments kick in gradually before the crescendo of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. In a rom-com, you want to build up and ease off the doki doki feelings to maintain romantic tension. In a regular comedy, you want to warm the audience up with a gradual escalation of ridiculousness and give them time to breathe after the big laughs. And in a power...
These are really bad examples, what he's trying to explain. Like Beethoven, I'm like, what? No. Giving people time to breathe, meaning is basically a mini denouement of a climax, or a denouement in general. So...
And anime usually knows how to do that, contrary to Western animation and film.
Oh yeah.
Where I think Ebert called it visual punctuation.
Unless you're watching Excel Saga, then there's no breaks. You're just...
But that's the point of Excel Saga.
Just go. And you're not. Oh, we're not going fast enough. Like, keep going.
Yeah. There are some comedy anime like that, like Macadamia Wasoi also did that. It's just no pause until it's over.
Yeah. It's extreme. But yes, most stories, when they have a big scene of violence, will go, oh, let's slow that down.
Fantasy, you want moments of struggle and maybe even a few serious setbacks between the big cathartic triumphs to maximize that catharsis. The contrast accentuates the impact. The harder the battle, the more glorious the victory. You can see this principle at play in every Dragon Ball saga, as the Z Fighters struggle against a new villain, get beaten down, then
the pacing is a huge issue in Dragon Ball, especially Z. So no, if they were to cut out like maybe 80% of the fight scenes, then you could get to that up and down. But there's a lot of just standing around and talking. Or running or whatever.
Shouting.
Or getting beaten up and then like, I'm amazing, I just beat you up and blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, I'm going to get stronger. So, no, that's not the best example.
Get back up and eventually save the day. And their most memorable victories, Cell, Frieza, King Piccolo, all come on the heels of their most devastating defeats to date. Most One Piece arcs involve a villain smacking Luffy around until he bounces back hard enough to knock them off their high horse, and that's hype as f***. Hell, Jujutsu Kaisen's heroes lose more often than they win, but when they do win, it blows the roof off the internet. In contrast, so many modern reincarnated in a VR MMO where my off-meta class is actually super OP type things fall flat on their face right out of the gate because they're scared to make an audience that's here to be validated feel bad by kicking their Kirito's ass or letting him fuck up a little.
Well, no, the manga was written that way. People bought the manga, and the producers said, do the manga on anime. That's pretty much it. They're not going to change much. So the manga is the test, and if it sells, they're going to convert that as close as possible to the anime. So
unless they make the anime too early and the manga isn't finished, and then they start coming up with crap that doesn't happen in the manga because there's no story yet, and it's all garbage.
Yeah, I would say most. Well, aside
talking to you, Chrono Crusade.
Aside from the Chinese stuff, most of it comes from manga. Like the Chinese stuff has such huge budgets, and Lord of Mysteries. If you ever, I only watched the first episode. I have no idea what was going on. It was just so much was happening. And is this magic? Is this a dream? Is he hallucinating? Is it some other creature causing it? Is the cop doing it? Is it the other cop lady? I wasn't sure what was going on. And if the storytelling is all visual, then that's great. You'll have a great time. I think he's alive at the end. I think he's in the right world. I don't know. It's a very hard sell. I hate stories that are just giant kaleidoscopes of action and magic, and people can manipulate the world, and it's like, whoa. It's losing my mind. So like Jujutsu Kaisen at least has some understanding, the same with Chainsaw Man, but it's still over the top violence and stuff that it should be exciting to the general audience. But if you want to make sense of the world, good luck. At least with Lord of Mysteries. Maybe they explain it later. Who knows?
This year's failure frame, which ostensibly starts with a whole episode of Protag getting shit on, the shitting is entirely verbal bullying, and as soon as he's actually faced with a monster, he wins and keeps winning forever. And the audience does seem to validate that cowardice to an extent. If you look at...
It's not cowardice. That's the revenge plot. That's very the first episode's so important, and the fact that he survived was a miracle. And that's like, I don't know where the manga is now, but I think they have Eve's speed and the little girl to send her to some witch in some forest so they can figure out how to kill the goddess. Like that's this whole revenge plot. And the rest is him hiding himself from the world so no one knows he's alive so he can kill the goddess. That's it. And he has to play all these tricks. So it is ironic that he's like multiple levels higher than everyone else because he kills so many strong people or strong enemies. But it's not done in a public way. That's why it's okay. If he was just like walking around destroying like kingdoms, then that'd be stupid. But he's at least a bit smart about it. So it does have other problems in that story, but that the power aspect is just like, okay, that's just one element of his skill set, because he knows that he can't kill the goddess with his skills. So he needs that magic spell from the witch or whatever to figure out how to stop the goddess. So it doesn't matter how strong he gets if he can't accomplish his goal.
Counts and MAL pages, the average attach rate for this slop is pretty damn high compared to other anime. But in the rare cases where these things see a sequel, we can see that the drop rate is just as high. In Another World with My Smartphone has almost twice as many MAL viewers as Ascendants of a Bookworm, but when it comes to sequels, it barely scraped together 2/3 of Bookworm's viewership. It's fun watching a guy win and get the girl, but if all he does after that is win more and get more girls, there's no real reason to stick around and see what happens next. You know what's going to happen next. Solo leveling...
I would have liked to expound on Bookworm, because that's a bit... The issue why Bookworm keeps having an audience despite being drawn rather horribly. And having actually very stupid writing on how this world works and how dumb this world is just so that the girl can be so amazing. Like somehow they don't know how to weave baskets or something. but are capable of building 4 or 5 story tall buildings for flats. There's a lot of nonsense going on that's contradictory, because somehow at the same time they have barely any book printing. The thing with it is that it's just really, really cute. That's why I kept watching it, because it's really, really cute and because I am obsessing about books. But that's why. The quality of Bookworm is actually pretty bad. And he's massively overpowered for that.
Obviously, it's not afraid to kick Sung Jinwoo's ass at first, and the Double Dungeon does a good job of establishing what baseline D to B rank hunter skills look like, how our E rank hero falls short of that, and the god tier S+ level threats that he'll eventually rise up to challenge. And after he becomes the solo leveler, the show still does a good job of scaling the bigness and badness of the monsters he faces from episode to episode, mixing up groups of mobs, bosses, and mini-bosses to keep him on his toes. A trend that even carries on into the current season. Last arc,
Also, he first complained about it, and now he does admit the same things that I hold against his points. Great. Sounds like a waste of time and a video made to be done to have a video made.
Almost, yeah.
fought some sentient monsters in an open field, which
Spoilers.
was scary. And now some different sentient monsters have dragged his party onto their home turf, which is even scarier. There was also a fun little bit before that where he had to stunt on the sentient monsters while staying invisible so the party he was trying to protect wouldn't find out how OP he was, because he was incognito as their pack mule at the time. So there's even a bit of variety in the challenges the show throws out.
I hope people in the audience have watched the second season by now, because he's just spoilering most of the fun.
Yeah, it's been out for a good few months, so yeah.
Throws at him, and if we're given credit where it's due, dungeon theming and area layouts also show a lot more variety than, say, Sword Art Online. If this was a video game, I'd say it's pretty well designed. But it's not a video game, so that...
yeah.
You don't know that.
It came out last year. It's a gacha game. Came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, challenge level only means anything if it actually affects the progression of the plot. And while every other encounter is set up to be like 2 to 3 levels ahead of Sung Jin-woo, so he's got to sweat it out and cheese him a bit to score that clutch victory, instead of just effortlessly raffle stomping everything, every other encounter is set up to be like 2 to 3 levels ahead of him so he can sweat it out, cheese it a bit, and score a clutch victory. With the fight choreography and the heavy breathing close-ups and the near misses into clever counterattacks and the awesome sound effects, the animation certainly captures the aesthetic of a Soulsian struggle battle, but in terms of narrative rhythm, it's more like a level-scaled Elder Scrolls game, where the monsters keep getting tougher, but only exactly as much as the hero does, so the relative intensity of each fight remains basically flat, except of course for that one time.
I don't know what he means by the intensity being flat. The intensity is exactly that. It's high. That's why you call it intense. If you think the fight scenes in Solo Leveling, no matter what episode, is flat,
he has been massively desensitized and doesn't know how to feel emotions.
Yeah, is he like a war veteran? Like, what are you talking about? This is extremely well drawn and animated, and he gets cut up and dies a few times. So I don't know how intensity is flat.
Yeah, and it's the dynamic and the you could say impact frames that it uses that keeps it going. And even if you were a war veteran with PTSD, this show would still keep you on your chair. It's good.
There's a lot going on.
In order to not feel anything from it, you'd need to be a psychopath.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with each episode. He's usually along for the ride with the later episodes, because there's like the island raid, which was the last few episodes. There was the dungeon raid with the orcs, And before that, it was with the elves, with the double dungeon, I think, where they get teleported away. So he's always helping people out. He's always trying to save people while he's fighting, for the most part. And then after that, he's doing his own thing for his mom, and I think he's taking care of, I can't remember who else. But yeah, no, it's the manga, he goes off on his own a lot, so later on.
But then he forgot to do his push-ups, so he got sent to the forgot to do your push-ups dimension, where he was able to heal up and grind until the enemy was 2 to 3 levels ahead of him, so he could sweat it out, cheese it a bit, and score a clutch victory. And I think that this is the single biggest issue with power fantasies that try to quantify their power levels like some sort of video game. There is a certain crunchy...
Why? Because he levels up after the victory and gains a new amazing skill that is even bigger, and then we skip all the frames that are boring where he uses that 100 times, and in the episode we just look at the point where the next interesting challenge is.
I think
this guy wants to see the character on the toilet.
I think the main problem is that he thinks the power scaling is just bad overall. Because every time the protagonist has to be like just at the point where he still can overcome stuff. And he never can fail. Which admittedly is something that kind of happens in solo leveling.
The thing is, you have to, when you have a show about a main character, and you know the show is 26 episodes long, you know it is very unlikely that he's actually gonna. So,
yeah,
that is the actual art form in the writing and everything around it. How do you make the audience tense up anyway? That it feels dangerous anyway? That you forget this meta knowledge and it's challenging anyway, and solo leveling does that well. When you can't imagine how is he gonna solve it without hyper Deus Ex Machina, it does a good job. Because solo leveling still stays within the realm of its own rules to that, in that sense, I would say.
I'm trying to see the problem here. You can't tell a story where the main hero... Well, you actually can. We've seen a few. The main hero curb stomps everyone, but they don't want to. They're just sort of in the story, and they're just there for the ride. So it's like they go to the magical academy, but they're a demon lord, but they don't tell anyone, or they don't care to. It's not a big deal, and they have all this command over magic because magic has been long gone, or it's been forgotten, and he knows all the old stuff. That is funny. It's not a power fantasy for the sake of having explosive action, but because he's the guy who's been around for thousands of years and he decides to live as a student for some reason. That's the comedy part. With solo leveling, he's just at that level, except for that one time where he was losing. And because he got to the penalty zone, that saved him. That was like a luck. Like I think he said luck was also a kind of skill. That the fact that he didn't do his daily routine, or he didn't do his daily thing he was supposed to do. So he managed to get out of jail and then come back a little bit stronger. So, but every other episode, he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. Also, don't forget the hellish looking place before the tower thing that he went into. The first time he went there, he was not strong enough. He had to leave.
Yeah. It's the same with the 100 tower. Like even the tower, I stopped at 75 or whatever it was, and I have to go back because it's too much or whatever. Until we get to Beru, that's where he's like, he knows he's really strong, but he nearly lost, and he realized, okay, how much power do I need to exude here? Because he nearly gets his eye ripped out, and like they were just like trading blows at one point just to test each other out.
Yeah, it tells us just how much further this world can go, and that at that point, all of humanity is effectively useless.
Yeah. And
Humanity had decent characters there, but at that point they're useless.
And
because Beru is basically like he is.
yeah, and the system is trying to create that shadow monarch or whatever, and they called it, I think the other heroes called it a second awakening, but it's really just the system doing whatever it wants for the purpose of bringing the shadow monarch back to life. But I think it was the administrator wanted that, but the actual shadow monarch didn't. And that's why...
Not in the anime has none of that revealed.
No, not yet, but that's like... The whole concept is to save humanity. So the system is in place, but the administrator didn't like that or whatever. So there's all this other story behind the scenes. But that is sort of the dirty reality. Like, oh my God, you need to do this. You need to put humanity through the gauntlet with this one guy, and everyone has to follow his example. So,
the big question here is, what does he want instead? Because the only alternative that I can imagine of the hero not beating the new threat by a hair's breadth, overcoming it, and through the overcoming getting stronger, is that we get a 200 episode anime with Saturday morning cartoon heroes that are relatively easily beaten because the hero is just that strong.
or you get...
And that I don't want that.
Or you get, instead of solo leveling, you get group leveling. So it's just basically a team who are individually unique, like any other story where you have like a heist movie, you have their individual skills, or any isekai where you have the tank and you have the magician, you have the archer, etc. And they use their unique abilities and skills to overcome their foe, which is every other story. So it's like, okay, why is solo leveling bad? I don't get it.
You can theoretically also use the story like Helsing, where you have a very powerful mentor and you could say a trainee that is
Useless.
slowly moving towards becoming a bit more powerful.
Yeah, sadly that never went anywhere.
Well, she finds a boyfriend, so and then he dies.
Yay!
And she gets angry.
Yay!
And it's a boyfriend in sentiment, not in any sort of romantic sense. It's just he respected her, and she was like, "Oh, he's dead."
And with our video guy here, I'm getting the feeling more and more that he's just complaining to complain.
Yep.
So that there's a video.
And it's not...
And that the video is long.
It's not an unheard of complaint. It's just a dumb complaint, and he's running with it. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, the hero has something to do.
Oh,
well, we need an episode.
The hero is just strong enough to clinch the win. You're like, yep, that's good.
Have you noticed all the non-fighting dungeon scenes in the anime where there's character stuff and slice of life stuff? Does he want? This is my question. Is his want the filling out everything between the frames, where we see every breakfast, every shower, every taking a dump
they
on
have,
the toilet by the character?
They have some of those scenes, especially with the mining crews where he's a part of, and
exactly.
He's just sitting down and eating lunch, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I'll go take your shift, and he go back and he goes crazy. He mines like crazy.
Yeah, but it shows us this is a world, and it functions in a specific way, and it interacts with this this magical nonsense.
Yeah, like Konosuba had a bunch of those scenes in the first few episodes where they're just
yeah,
they're drinking beer, they're going to bed, they're waking up, they're working, they're drinking beer, they're going to bed, and after 4 times he's like, "What the hell are we doing?" That's great.
I want to go into a dungeon.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Satisfaction in seeing a hero get stronger every episode because his numbers went up, but the story can only really respond to that by making the numbers of his enemies go also up. It locks you.
That's fine. That's That's great.
That's every story in the bloody world.
That's like, he just complained there's a magical system that centers and you have to explain the limitations. It's like, yeah, here's the limitations of the leveling system, and you get it after you win, and then if you survive you get stronger and the enemies get stronger. And
I mean, you don't even need the stats for that.
no.
I mean, the other way to have passive stats is by these dungeons that have several floors, or the tower that has several floors.
Yeah.
Because every floor is worse than the last.
There's
but even before that, we go all the way back to The Hobbit. What happens in The Hobbit? What's the first challenge? What's the second challenge? What's the third challenge? Everyone is bigger than the last. And we even have to retreat when we walk through the mountains, because oh god, the mountains spirit things, the elementals are waging war against each other, and then it's just a quarrel about what a cloud looks like.
I remember a manga called Auto Leveling with My Clones. I don't know if it's still going on.
Oh my god, that sounds...
I think it is.
It becomes that you can make a clone of himself, and his clone can do whatever he wants and tells him to, and the clone gets his own stats. So if the clone starts doing like push-ups nonstop, he'll get like endurance stat like 0.01 every hour or whatever. So he keeps...
That sounds like an actual power fantasy of a fat couch potato gooner.
Well, he gets ripped like just by not doing much, but
yeah,
but it's so
that's what
funny.
I'm talking about.
It's so funny because he ends up like making like 20 of them or 10 of them, and the first episode is in media res where he's fighting a dragon with like all his clones, and then it goes back to like he's just a nobody. So I don't know what it's like now, but it was so silly where there's training dungeons or whatever. And he would send one out, and one guy would train with guns, and one train with swords, and one would train with collecting things, and they would just be perfect automatons and do exactly what he told them to do. And then they would eat like these crystals that would turn them into beasts, so they would get like really violent, but they would still follow orders. So you break all these rules with beastification, whatever. It was crazy. It was just silly, goofy fun, and you could tell the art style was very not super deformed, but there was so many scenes where it's just the clones acting like goofs, doing the things over and over and over again for all the time throughout the story. And all that time he's just getting stronger and stronger just by doing nothing. So
Neff Champion in the chat says power levels bad is what he's saying. Okay, but you have to take into account these are the Japanese. They have a higher general autism level in their gene pool than we Germans do.
And
they have even more engineering obsession than we Germans do.
And
think about that. You are basically doing a cultural critique of how Japanese people act and are obsessed about stats.
And the South Koreans are the game machines of the world. They play games and pay attention to stats and timing and all that crap. So of course they're going to make one of the best.
Look how they play StarCraft 1 to this day.
Their interest
insane.
in stats and timing and mechanics is the greatest in the world. The greatest players in the world usually come from South Korea of any game. And
then think about that. In the north, it's the exact same people, and this kind of people, the stat-obsessed people, this hyper-logical engineering style people with high levels of autism, they couldn't make communism work. Best experiment in the world.
All right.
Should tell you everything.
Into a linear vertical progression loop that gives the hero and his foes almost no room for lateral advancement. That is, having the characters master the nuances of powers they already have, instead of just making those powers better or giving them new ones. Think of how Luffy expands the versatility of his Gum powers with Gears 2 and 3, compared to how he enhances them with Haki in Gear 4 and awakens a new form of them in Gear 5. The former Gear gears fundamentally alter the nature and complexity of the challenges Luffy can take on, while the latter ones mainly help him hit bigger, scarier guys harder, or funnier in Gear 5's case. This isn't to say that lateral advancement is strictly better than vertical. If that's all you have, it can create the sort of monotony that typifies Stardust Crusaders, where until the last few fights, the guys Joey Jojo Auras each week don't really get scarier, just differently weird. Ideally, you want a bit of both, like how Radiance and Stormlight Archive both develop greater control over their surges and spren, and advance to new ideals once a book or so. Or how Sacred...
Wait a second. So vertical and lateral are both good, which is what the stories are doing with their characters' powers. Is that what he's...
So we're back to, if it's written well, it's okay.
This is what happens in Luffy. His power goes this way, but in number 5, it goes that way. It's like, so that's a good thing. Yes. Okay. And here's JoJo, where it does the same thing, and that's a good thing. Yes. Okay.
Where's the difference to Dragon Ball again?
What is he saying? Like, what's the problem?
I don't know.
Artists in Cradle
in that
develop
order?
and
That's
refine
weird.
a handful of signature techniques while they're climbing through the same advancement levels as everyone else. That way, you can have fights that top each other in both spectacle and complexity.
Dude, it's called solo leveling. It's one guy. Why are we talking about the side characters and they need to power scale? What are you talking about? What is...
The point is that only he can.
What...
That's the point.
He is going to be the Shadow Monarch. He is a demigod of sorts. But you're concerned about the S-ranked heroes not being strong enough? They're not supposed to be.
He's supposed to eclipse them.
That's
the point.
What is the argument? Is he talking about in general? Like if you have like an ensemble cast and they should all be, rough. What was that? Yeah, what was that chick we covered a few weeks back that talked about the Ruby characters and their lack of growth or whatever? They got new gear but didn't really do anything.
We talked about Ruby?
No, she did. We were just sort of like, what? What the hell?
Was I absent for that?
It's Ruby. Who cares?
I think I would remember being scarred.
Yeah, I still have not watched one episode.
Maybe I repressed the memory already.
I was like paying attention. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, bad show. Wow.
Status id and the intellect. Don't get
what? The id and the what are you talking about?
I don't think he has a clue what he just said.
Did he ever? If he went to a film school for video game design, I don't think he went to university for psychology.
I want to hear that whole sentence.
You want to rewind that? Oh God.
Yeah, a bit.
Okay.
What annoys me about Watch Together is I can't click on the screen to play and pause. I have to click this tiny little button in the bottom left corner of the play button. Only that works properly. That's why it sometimes stutters.
Practical and complexity. And the intellect. Don't get me wrong. The kind of hype that solo leveling delivers.
Okay, that's not how that
works.
works.
What does satisfying the id even mean? Like you're throwing a Freudian concept at us as if we all know what you mean, when the actual argument of that has been debated for decades.
It's padding. It's just padding.
Okay, I guess if he brought up the shadow self from Young, we'd all understand what he's talking about.
Give me. I would. Okay. For this, I would need 5 minutes to wind up those gears in my brain to try to unravel what he might have meant, what he might believe to mean, and what it actually means that he's. I hope you can forgive me that I don't.
Well, I studied psych, and I would never use that term in that fashion, or at least pull it out of nowhere. So yeah, don't ever pull out weird esoteric terms that are not based off science. Okay, just don't do that, or based off the unconscious concepts of the mind.
I have a rough idea what he wants to say, but he should use very different words for it.
Yes, you should have said something like something that appeases your emotions or your desires and something that appeases your sense of what makes a good story, let's say, the intellect.
Something that doesn't insult your intellect.
Yeah, that's good too.
Doesn't just appear out of nowhere in the presence of good animation. There is some solid micro-level writing going on here. Minute to minute.
What is micro-level writing? Does anyone know? I don't think
he means the he means the details from sentence to sentence.
I don't even know if that's what he means. I couldn't tell.
That he wants that every step, every microscopic step, frame to frame, makes sense and is great and engaging is probably what he means.
Oh god.
And full of detail.
Sure.
So much in every shot.
You know, as good as the manga was, I really don't think the long form of South Korean manhwa has micro-level writing. It's very visual.
Scene to scene, quip to quip, the script deploys jobbers effectively, pushes Jinwoo into corners he's got to think his way out of, or not push up his way out of, as the case may be, and generally does a good job of creating a distinct context for who he...
By the way, it may be a lack of my exposure to Korean names, but I can't for the life of me remember a single one. Whether here, whether in every K-drama, in any K-drama, I just can't. Japanese names, I don't know, they were always intuitive. Korean names, that is what... Okay, I can remember what that character looks like. Names, forget it.
I can sometimes remember the name, but when I'm reading it, when I'm watching stuff, no way.
I think it's also a pronunciation issue because when you see it, it's a lot of like vowels and short words, like C SEO. You're like SEO, SEO. What is that?
And Chinese is worse because Chinese is like French. The letters and the pronunciation make no sense. They have no relation to each other. Horrible. And that's the fault of the English.
Why they deserve an ass kicking. But the are definitely doing a lot of heavy lifting, just like the art does in the manhwa. And on a macro level, once you're clued into the pattern, you know how almost every fight's gonna go from the start. Either some cocky evil bitch underestimates Sung and gets his teeth pushed in, or Sung gets in a little over his head and claws his way out. Occasionally, he'll get in way over his head to keep you on your toes, but then some sort of Deus Ex Machina inevitably saves him at the last second, like in the double dungeon or the push-ups thing. And to be fair...
It's not a Deus Ex. That's literally the system as we saw it at the start. He didn't do his daily routine. It's not a Deus Ex.
That was punishment.
Yeah, it was coming. We just, the sense of time, you could argue, is a Deus Ex. We don't understand 24 hours exactly.
And we just didn't know yet what would happen if he failed.
Yeah.
Do you just not get your boon, or does something bad happen?
I think it was also shown in this times where it was going to happen. So I think with the trial, it was foreshadowed.
Yeah. You didn't know what the bad thing would be that would happen.
Well.
And that's why, maybe I can let it slip. Oh my god, I'll never do that again.
We assumed it was the same punishment because we saw it the first time when he was in the hospital, when he survived and he came back as this second awakening or whatever. And then he went, oh shit, I'm never going to do that again. And then he ends up not doing it again. And you're like, okay, well, this is going to happen. We just don't know what. And it was the same thing. It's like, oh, great. And he's strong enough to deal with that. And then he gets even stronger as a result. So that's kind of clever. That's a very clever thing.
Yeah, and what it tells us is effectively the system insists that he gets stronger. Either by himself or the system will force it. And we see that in various other scenes. Even the part where the system forces him kill his first human. That is part of that. That's part of his training and conditioning for what's up ahead. And you can put that into the realm of Deus Ex Machina until you understand that the system itself is a character. It's not coming out of the blue, no matter how blue it looks.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Oh yeah, no. His way of describing it is very limited. So in his mind, it makes sense. To us, it's like, well, it's not a literal Deus Ex. It's the system doing its own thing, because the system has its mind of its own. It does.
Still more than most light novel shit ever does to mix things up, but to be balanced, it still means that no fight is ever gonna cost Sung Jin Woo anything the audience might really miss, which leaves the fights lacking in bite, even compared
Not
to
at all.
other anime.
Really?
What are you watching that doesn't lack bite? I please tell me what is more amazing, more pinnacle than this.
Okay, so
Seriously, I want to watch that.
So he's fighting Ignis right here. Before that, he had to do the whole penalty thing, I believe, and then he came back and he's yeah.
This fight was Ignis was intense. That could have fallen every which way because we have seen Jin So Wong whatever. I'm sorry, I can't.
Sung Jin Woo.
Jinwoo. He could have lost to it because he's lost to other things before. He had to retreat before. That had happened more than once, and that is what tells us it's not a given that he wins. But in these pocket dimensions, it still all can mean, well, maybe you just get thrown out and can try again later. Well, the kicker with this one was that, well, you can only do it once. So if you lose it, well, you can't try again. But that doesn't mean he'll die. With the end fight of season 2, that happened in the real world. That wasn't in any pocket dimension. And you can't die. This was a special one, not one of the normal dungeons where you can also die. But the actual final boss fight of season 2. That's in this world against a creature that has basically the same kinds of powers as he does, or on the same level, and can acquire new powers as well. That's totally different.
Yeah.
So that's a fight with stakes. That's what everything else built up.
Remember the battle with the ice elves or whatever it was?
Oh yeah.
He had to resurrect one of those guys who died, and that dude had to deal the finishing blow. Like, it wasn't an easy fight.
And that's a horribly cruel thing. Because that was a human being.
Yeah, even the fight with the
He's
orcs.
now enslaved. His soul is now enslaved to him.
Like the fight with the orcs, that was intense because he had to like not get the rest of his team killed, and then they realized, oh, we have no power here. The only one who could save us is this one guy. We had no idea. And then the one guy steps up and he starts defending his team. Not that he can do much, but he still actually fights. So this is not all the same. All the battles are very unique. The one with Beru, that was the only one where he's really confident, but he's holding back his punches because he has to figure out what the hell's going on. And Beru's like going all out, and then and then they start going really, really fast, and he's like, okay, I got to protect people as well. But then Beru gets so scared, he starts running away, and that's when it's like, okay, this is going to get really violent. And his skill powers up, and it's, slashes him 1,000 times or whatever. But yeah, but Beru nearly won. So, I mean, I don't get what this. He's either really overpowered or he barely wins. It's like, no, he barely wins half the time anyway, or he's holding back to protect people. Hey.
He's making both arguments all the time here. He complains to complain, and then he says the opposite, that, but it's also actually really good and well done.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, can you just give me a definitive opinion and just say this is a good thing and this is the standard. This is why Solo Leveling is so good, and then these other stories don't do half as much. You're like, you're right, they don't.
If these fights don't do anything for him, then he's not a human being.
There's
something wrong with his brain.
Stop watching the anime. Watch, I don't know, the Western stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess I don't know.
I don't actually know what
Western
Western thing is on par with this.
I have no idea. Netflix.
That are frequently criticized for being light on lasting consequences and overly predictable, like Dragon Ball or One Piece. And it's a world apart from genuinely unpredictable power fantasies with heavy stakes and meaningful consequences like Gundam, Hunter x Hunter, Re:Zero, Chainsaw Man, Dandadan, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Re:Zero is unpredictable how?
And the stakes.
In the end, yes, we just see the loss played out, and then we do it again until it works.
Yeah, the stakes are...
How is that unpredictable? That's a pattern in itself.
The stakes are always the same. The entertainment value is the tragedy of Subaru having to go through it again. And this lack of personality to deal with that and how to solve that. That's the interesting part. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, Gundam, I guess it's a war, so that's fine.
When it has disposable side characters, yes. Like, I think some of these scenes here were from War in the Pocket, which is a complete side story.
Oh.
So yeah, characters can die there. It's not Amuro Ray's story.
Consequences like Gundam, Hunter x Hunter, Re:Zero, Chainsaw Man, Dandadan, Jujutsu Kaisen.
How is Dandadan not predictable? Because it has high level stakes? Because it still has a cast of main characters. They're not dying. Second season. Yeah. Oh, we have another demon thing. That's really bad. And okay, we beat it. Okay, somebody absorbed it. Okay, now you have its powers. New demon thing. Okay, I don't want to exercise it. I want to befriend the guy because I feel pity for the demon thing. Okay, now learn to control the demon thing. Okay, now we use its powers. And so on, and so on, and so on. Yeah. It's the same thing, for fuck's sake.
With Jujutsu Kaisen, the issue was people can die, so there's stakes. But the writer had problems with the characters he created, which was the villain Sukuna and the hero, not the hero, but the overpowered guy called Gojo. That they were just so strong, he had to figure out how to kill one of them off, or else the story wouldn't go anywhere. So, plus the whole bloody city is getting annihilated. Like, we're talking about entire blocks of was it downtown Tokyo? I can't remember the city they were in. It's like this crazy animation of just stuff blowing away. And it's just nuts. It's hard to grasp because, again, the power level, you don't know who's doing what or what they're capable of doing. They do have some limitations, but it's over-the-top action. And again, Sukuna is just this god character who can do anything. And they kill off Gojo, or they trap him, and I think he's killed off now. So it's a scene of bad writing and having overpowered characters and not knowing how to control them. So they kill them off. And Chainsaw Man is another one of those supernatural stories where lots of action like Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's very hard to follow who can do what because it's all supernatural stuff.
Please note that meaningful consequences doesn't have to mean constant character deaths, just failures that permanently alter the status quo and force the characters to adapt in some way. You know, some hardship to sweeten the victory, which, despite its reputation, One Piece does actually do.
How's Konosuba any example here? That's a comedy.
Yeah.
That's just random over the top stuff. Konosuba is just the modern Slayers.
They gain money and they lose it all the next scene.
Yeah. Really, watch the old Slayers movies. They're wonderful. You don't need to watch the series for those. They're all standalone.
Yeah, darkness gets...
It's the 90s, 80s, 90s, I think mainly 90s, Konosuba effective.
Yeah, no.
Just without the isekai.
Yeah.
Whoops.
When circumstances pull the crew apart or pit them against each other, or when they have to leave a friend behind. And while that's usually temporary, the sagas where it lasts a while tend to be held up as the best in the series. Alabasta, Water 7, The Summit War, Dressrosa through Whole Cake Island. Of course, those consequences don't usually hinge on winning or losing one fight, but then One Piece is more of an adventure story with power fantasy elements anyway, where the fights come second to moments of wonder, discovery, and laughter. The sheer length and breadth of the journey goes a long way toward making the predictable results of those fights feel satisfying and earned. And that point...
Okay, so he likes on One Piece. All right. But I think this is what he means, is he just wants all of the things between the frames.
Because
he wants the long, drawn-out stuff.
Yeah, because Solo Leveling focuses on one character and One Piece doesn't. There's a whole team, but the main character gets some, shots here and there.
Yeah,
focuses on him. It's okay.
And it's just a quicker told story because you have, as we said before, you have episodes that have all of these things in them. It's just condensed. It's closer together. And we don't need to retell exploring the dungeon every single time. But that is what he wants.
Yeah, I feel as if he doesn't understand One Piece. And he just likes it. And therefore, this is doing it. I like this scene in One Piece because the stuff I like is there. And you're like, yep, that's true. It is.
I mean, he doesn't understand solo leveling.
I think he enjoys it, but he's trying to criticize it poorly. And it's just not working. And I'm like, dude, just, what's there that doesn't work for you? Because the flavor of Sung Jin Woo, and he has two options, overpower or barely get by. Is that boring to you? Fine, don't watch it. Great, no problem. Go watch One Piece. Not everything has to be One Piece.
Tourist.
To one of the single best things that any writer can do to make their power fantasy more interesting. Give the hero a goal orthogonal to just getting stronger.
What is an orthogonal?
He has that.
What is an orthogonal goal, sir? What does that mean?
What?
Orthogonal.
Did he say no? Orthogonal.
Orthogonal is involving right angles at right angles.
Yes. I didn't hear that here. He used that word, but Jin Woo has that. He wants to save his mother.
So he wants
to cure his mother. That's his first goal.
He wants subplots, is what he's saying.
And after that, he has to be. He's not even aware of this island problem thing. He has to be drawn into that later. Because all the other hero organizations, they're not even actively dealing with him because he tries to hide his power. That's an interesting thing for the audience to see, because we know, audience knowledge, the world has this growing problem in the background, and the hero isn't even aware of it yet. And we are scared of, or supposed to be scared of, well, how is he going to be dragged into that? Because the world needs him. We know that already. That's interesting. And that's unconventional for most stories today. I don't think I can think of anyone that actually did that in recent times.
Yeah. He was focused on helping his mom. His mom came back, and his priority was to spend time with his family. But he was forced to join the Not the raid. What the hell was it? One of his shadow soldiers found out because they was following someone or something like that. And
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened because one of the S ranks died and the shadow soldiers noticed that and he swapped places with. I can't recall. He must have swapped places with them. So, yeah, it must have been when the Ant King popped up. And you go, oh, there he is.
And Rabbit dropped out because it was really late for him.
Yeah. All right.
Results of those fights feel satisfying and earned. And that points to one of the single best things that any writer can do to make their power fantasy more interesting.
Okay, this premise already is silly. Because whenever you say, I want something to be more interesting, you can't describe what you want. Whenever you say, hey, that's an interesting story, or that's an interesting scarf, or that's an interesting whatever, you can't describe what compels you to look at it. It could be crap. It could look god-awful. It could be amazing. You just don't know. You cannot articulate it. So this guy is saying, I want Sung Jin Woo, or whatever, to have a subplot because I like it. I don't know why. It compels me to pay attention. He's not understanding what the subplot is or how it works. He just wants it for the sake of there being something else aside from one plot, which is there's nothing wrong with having just one plot. If you want multiple plots, great. That's more work for the writer. It's harder to do. If they can do that, great. I'm all for it. But by virtue of having more than one, no, you don't need more than one. It's like saying, you know what would be great if I had a steak? I had another steak. Only it's a different cut of steak, and my first steak wasn't as big, so I can have enough room to have a second cut of steak, also not as big. You're like, oh, yeah, that would be interesting. But will it taste any better? It will taste different. It will feel different because it's a different cut, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a better experience. You're asking for more stuff for the sake of it because you find it different, which is not a good argument for writing.
Hero a goal orthogonal to just getting stronger and beating guys up.
He is not trying to get stronger. That's not his goal.
He actually said it. Orthogonal.
Yes.
An orthogonal goal. What the fuck is... How? What is the...
He's trying to say an adjacent goal.
So a side goal.
A subplot. That's all he's talking about is a subplot. That's it.
Dude. Don't use words you don't need that nobody understands just to try to sound smarter. That's how narcissists talk.
Now, there's no need for that. Just say a subplot. Again, if he knew what plots were, he would just say subplot. So he's using this... Sung Jin Woo is not trying to get stronger for the sake of it.
Yeah.
His
main goal is cure mom.
And he did. And he wants to spend time with his family. And that's it. And then while this is going on... one of his sentinels or one of his shadow warriors finds out an S-ranked warrior just got killed that he was monitoring.
Yeah, because he attached them to people he had interest in cared about.
Right. That's it.
Okay, I wanna protect people, so boom. But other than that, I wanna be fine. I wanna be independent, and I wanna spend time with my family. And he had achieved that. And then he's dragged into the bigger problem of the world.
And then he's forced to reveal himself, and then he's got to go to the Hero Association Guild or whatever, and all that stuff.
Got cool things isn't the sole focal point of the story, then so long as the bits that are the focal point follow a satisfying progression, like the romance in Dunn, and also... Ari Ferretta, weirdly. The escalation of comedy in One Punch Man, the surrealist horror in Chainsaw Man, the unraveling mystery in FMA, or the character development in Mob Psycho 100, you can get away with eschewing the power curve and making your heroes insanely OP right out.
No, you can't. There's reasons why that works in those stories. You can't just say, give them a subplot and everything will be fine. No. If that was the case, you would have multiple plots and have multiple stupid stories just because you think the subplots will take care of things.
Usually not randomly overpowered, that you only have more silly things like Gurren Lagann, where it's, I feel more powerful, therefore I win. Okay. But these other named things, they have rules.
Yeah. It's not, was it Green Lantern Ring? Is it the willpower? Is that all it is?
That's power, yeah.
Willpower,
That's
yeah.
power.
If you have enough willpower, you can do anything. It's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. Think of Hellsing Ultimate, where basically the power level of Alucard is already fixed at the very beginning. It's just not unlocked.
Yeah.
So he can't beat anything. He's just not allowed to. He has to get the okay. Okay, you are allowed to beat that thing. Go more powerful. And that's how you can basically also play the infinite game. But there's a little bit of an inversion there. I think I'm too far away from the microphone.
It was kind of silly that the Hellsing Ultimate ending or the plot of the villains was to unlock Alucard so he can kill everyone. It's just like, well, what if he doesn't want to kill everyone? It's like, what do you do then? It's like, you encourage him? Like, what? It was a weird scenario by the villains there. We're gonna anger our enemy to kill everyone, so you can kill everyone. Like, what? Okay.
Out of the gate. Or you can even get away with keeping him weak for a good long while, piling horror and misery on him to and past his breaking point, and only then giving him any real combat powers when you're building him back up from those.
Yeah, we skipped that part, or we fast forwarded that part in Solo Level. His first, in the second episode, you get third episode, after his first little dungeon. We don't see all the 500 level 1 enemies that he kills. We don't need to.
The way they do that is he throws his broken sword that he was using for that training at some mid-boss that pops out of one of the gates, and it's some guy, and no one sees it because it's so fast and he's already away, to showcase that he was training so hard he doesn't need this tool anymore. And that was the result of his training. That's a great way to speed things up.
Yeah. And we saw how he struggled with those first level 1 enemies, those rabbit dogs or whatever it was. And yeah, okay, we've seen that. And then we see, okay, he's doing better with that. We skip an episode, we wait an episode, and the next time we see him in action, he's actually competent. That's fine.
Yeah,
he wants to see every little detail.
Yeah, there's ways.
Okay, there's an anime out there with that.
There's ways. There's ways to get through the mundane stuff for the sake of the training montage, or the way to get the hero to the level he needs to be, so that the story can continue. Usually, that's a time skip, but it depends. Sometimes you don't need to do that.
I think what he wants is to watch somebody on Twitch play an MMORPG from level 1.
God. I'm not sure what he wants. I think he's just spitballing here because it sounds as if he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. He's trying to say, this is bad, but it's okay. It's like, what? What do you mean? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Is Solo Leveling good, or is it only not as good as One Piece?
Shattered pieces, until eventually he's fighting dragons, giving rousing speeches to inspire cities under siege, storming cathedrals, and rescuing pretty girls from marriage-minded kidnappers, just like any power fantasy type hero, and only dying a little bit along the way. Which, to me at least, felt infinitely more satisfying and cool than any of the, on paper, way more insane and hyped up shit that I've seen Sung Jin Woo pull off, as has...
Okay, so he likes ReZero more than Solo Leveling. That's fine. Good for you.
every other small victory that Subaru's earned along the way. Because I've been there with him through every agonizing step it took to get there, instead of just hearing that he was kind of a weak guy and seeing him get...
Do you seriously want to see the weakest the weakest hunter in solo leveling before he became the solo leveler? Why?
I told you, this is what he wants. He wants 300 episodes. He wants everything that happens between the frames in a comic.
But there's nothing there.
In minutia, in excruciating detail.
He's a loser for the entire time.
He wants to see every enemy that he kills, every XP gain.
His equipment is garbage. He does nothing heroic. He's scared. He gets hurt all the time. That girl has to heal him the most. He barely, does he even push his own weight? I don't even think he does. He's a liability on every team. Why would you want to watch that?
No, he also during the leveling process, when he can do that, he wants to see every single time he gets an XP point.
That reminds me...
Otherwise, it doesn't feel earned to him because he didn't see it. This is... Oh, God. You know what this is? We're dealing with a breakfast question individual.
I don't know.
He can't imagine the thing that's not been shown. He can't deal with hypotheticals. Because it wasn't shown, it wasn't there. It didn't exist. Even if it's referenced, it just didn't happen because he didn't see it.
This reminds me of a manga called...
He's below 93.
The tutorial is too hard, or the tutorial is set on hard. Like, there's very similar to the idea of reverse isekai. The world comes to the fantasy world comes to the city, and certain people are asked, do you want to join? Do you want to be a hunter? And then it asks you, do you want to go on easy? You want to go on normal, you want to go on hard, and then there's a secret even harder. And the guy who knows the story or knows the game or whatever chooses the nightmare or whatever, and he's still in the tutorial fighting the most insane things every single time. And what he does is there's a door between the tutorial and the level, and he jumps between every time that he's about to die. He jumps back into the waiting room where he doesn't have to sleep, he doesn't have to eat, he just sort of chills out and heals up, and then goes right back to the action where he nearly got killed. And he keeps doing that over and over and over again until he becomes super powerful. And that's the whole story. And he's still in the tutorial while hell is coming to the planet Earth, similar to solo leveling. I can't remember the exact title, but I think it's the tutorial is too hard or something like that.
Nev Champion gives a parallel example of what his problem is. Says he's one of the people who thinks that Luke Skywalker wasn't on Dagobah very long because it wasn't very long in the movie. This was just like 5 or 10 minutes in the movie, and therefore he wasn't very long there.
As opposed
because he didn't see more of it.
The 2-3 months or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was quite something.
Okay.
And as a child, you may mistake that. You may not get that. But when you are grown up, you should be able to infer that that's not just 10 minutes there and then flying away again.
Actually, the light speed is a bit of an issue. Or hyperspace. What is it? Hyperspeed or hyper?
The hyperspace is... No. It's not about the travel. It's about actually staying on the planet, training with Yoda. At least you see several days in this long time that he is on Dagobah.
All right. 27 minutes. We got 6 more to go.
Once. The harder the battle, the more glorious the victory.
Or the more impossible the victory because it's so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
the fights in solo leveling are not easy.
Like, does he understand like we're talking about power levels? The harder the battle, the more glorious the victory. If it makes sense, you can't have glory from a battle that's so one-sided. It has to make sense that the ant can crush the giant. How does that work?
Solo is amazing for the part of me that just wants to be a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons again, but it does very little for the adult that wants something deeper and more rewarding.
Are you serious?
No, you're an idiot. You are a child. You haven't grown up. You only want Saturday morning cartoons because that is literally what having 300 episodes of always the same thing is. Oh, I gained an XP point by beating the villain this Saturday again. And you only get the big fight at the end of the season. That's what you want. You don't understand, as Chad puts it, right? You don't understand time skips. Solo leveling uses time skips. Because that's boring. We can imagine what happens there and how long they take. We pay attention, you don't. This guy's starting to make me angry.
So when Sung Jin-woo was fighting Beru, he saved all, like, not just the S-rank hunters there, but also what's-her-face that died, and she brought her back to life by reviving the other S-rank hunter that died who was a healer. He was like one of those amazing healers.
Well, he spirit enslaved him, and then... Well, spoilers.
Yeah, like
there's somebody in the chat who hasn't seen it, wants to start watching it.
Okay,
now,
well,
so
that was a big deal. Like, he just didn't bring him back and keep him. He brought him back for one job to save what's her face because he couldn't save her, and then he released him because the guy did not want to be.
No, you said it anyway.
Oh, I'm trying to like what he's just said.
I know.
Oh, Sung Jin-woo doesn't do. It's like, did you not watch that last episode where he saved everyone?
That is Shakespearean.
And then he brought someone back from the dead to bring someone else back from the dead, and then released him from his service because he knew his personality and his desire not to fight. He didn't want to be a fighter anymore. He didn't want to be part of that, even in death. And his best friend was like, thank you. Like, that was not just some little thing he did.
He too, the spirit that allegedly has that they don't remember their previous lives. He too banged him. So there is still personality in that.
Like, that was, to me, that was the most dramatic part of that whole fight scene. It wasn't the fighting was awesome, but it was after the fact, and he's trying to save her life. He uses that elixir, the same elixir he tried to save his mom with, which worked, but not with her. And he's like, oh my God, I'm out of options. I don't know what to do.
And something that is a super limited resource. It basically unique. And this show is so full of little details that you can pick up on in the writing. It makes it amazing. This guy is simply a buffoon. He's an absolute... This channel is con artistry.
We've covered him before, and he's had some really bad takes. And we had to take I think we split it in half a few times. We had to pause and go, what is he saying?
I'm not surprised this generation is turning dumber and dumber if this guy has 1.4 million subscribers.
All right. Anyway, solo leveling is not some one-sided, one-plot scenario with good action scenes. It is definitely not Saturday morning cartoon, because there's no Saturday morning cartoon I could think of that has this level of quality, visually as well as storytelling. I'm not saying the story is this brilliant concept original.
The intros to some of the Saturday morning cartoons were because they were made in Japan.
But
Thundercats. Thundercats had an amazing intro.
Oh yeah,
but that was it.
The music, the anime, yeah, it was great. But the overall package you get with solo leveling, even in the manga, is so well put together. For production value, for narrative, for action, it is dramatic by itself. And to add more on top of that, with these heroes, they're dying from a mission that he had nothing to do with. And he comes in and he saves not just the heroes, obviously. This is a whole, I think it's all of Japan is at risk because of this island that has these...
Well, just at first, the thing will destroy the world.
Well, yeah. So it's a big deal. And then what ends up happening with Baru, and you don't know the sequel to Solo Leveling and what Baru does, and it's really charming. It's kind of cute, actually.
And it's, by the way, it's a very interesting thing with that island, because Koreans and Japanese don't really like each other much, and enough of that is also implied in the show.
Oh yeah.
But for this thread, they do work together. There are animosities, there are subplots, but they understand, okay, we need to get rid of this thing, otherwise, even if it kills the guys we don't like, this thing will come for us. So afterwards, so we better get rid of it together.
Yeah, I was just reminded of another regression and power fantasy. I guess it's an isekai. I can't remember. It's been a long, so I can't remember the beginning. It was called The Skeleton Soldier Could Not Protect the Dungeon. And even though he has this unique ability, which is basically his item box, that he doesn't know how to control it. There are stronger things in him in the world. There are like demons and whatever. And he's still trying to survive that. Even this far into the story, where he's been regressed so many times. And he's met so many other powerful characters. Some of them are his friends. So there's so much going on. I couldn't even, if I were to read one right now, I'd be like, where is this story? I have no clue. Does he want this epically long story with all these characters and they all have involvement? Or does he just not like Solo Leveling because there's one main protagonist? I don't know.
Hero is a power fantasy that satisfies both sides immensely, and noting how hyped those moments got me in Season 3 is another quarter of why I'm making this video. Though, ironically, the fact that it's so good at doing that has caused a lot of ReZero fans to reject the idea that it's a power fantasy at all, using the obvious fact that nobody would want to go through what Subaru goes through to dismiss the equally obvious fact that everybody would love to be where he ends up. Politically influential, surrounded by babes, championed to the masses with cool friends who think.
Yeah, you know how you do that? You grow up. And that's what Subaru does. He grows up. Very, very slowly, very, very painfully. And you know what? Growing up is like that. It's just extreme for him. Because he needs that. That's the sad part. And maybe you need that too.
He's cool, the best dog, and magic powers. It's still wish fulfillment, just long con wish fulfillment that holds a mirror up to the viewer and makes them take a long, hard look at themselves and what they're wishing for before exploring what it actually takes to become the kind of guy that men want to be and women want to be with, superpowers or no. Then it starts actually giving him powers that might be fun to use and letting him help beat up bad guys by means other than suicidal attrition. After he's earned it, but more importantly, after he and we have been through enough to really appreciate it. Ask yourself, do you feel more powerful after taking out 50 bazillion freedom fighters in Call of Duty, or one nemesis in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis? How about when you kill a dragon in Skyrim versus Elden Ring?
So wait, now the grind to get more powerful is boring again? And it's about beating the big fight, as is what Solo Leveling focuses on by showing you, okay, there is a grind for the main character, but once we've dealt with that, we just focus on the big fights because we can imagine the grind in between that you seem to not be able to when you're not shown it or told about. Well, telling you about it isn't enough. You need to be shown it.
I would not compare Skyrim to Elden Ring. That's just silly.
So is he. That's a perfect frame to illustrate what I think of what this guy is. Perfect frame.
Let's compare Skyrim to Elden. Like, why would you do that? Two very, very different games, but okay, fine.
Don't give away the feeling for free, but that doesn't mean that's not what they're selling. The temporary disempowerment doesn't negate the power fantasy, it enhances it. And ReZero is able to...
Let me go back to that. What the hell did he just say?
Babble.
In Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. How about when you kill a dragon in Skyrim versus Elden Ring? The latter games don't give away the feeling for free, but that doesn't mean that's not what they're selling.
You mentioned Skyrim because in Skyrim the dragons basically are mosquitoes.
After a certain point, yeah, but that's... Elden Ring is not selling something, but it is. Okay.
Temporary disempowerment doesn't negate the power fantasy, it enhances it. And ReZero...
So, when Sung Jin-woo is not as strong as the Igris, and he beats him, yes, that after trial and error, etc., yes, that does feel good. That's how that goes. So you're saying that these fights that Sung Jin-woo has are well fought and well thought
He's not
out.
in a pinch enough, apparently.
He nearly dies several times. Even with Beru, he nearly dies several times.
Is able to leverage that principle better than pretty much any other isekai because it's more than just a power fantasy. Because it's got characters worth paying attention to, themes worth...
So does Solo Leveling. Were you not listening to all the other really strong characters that nearly kill Sung Jin-woo? Good and bad? And the villains? Especially the demons and what have you? Why they're fighting?
He likes ReZero because the defeat is actually spelled out by the character dying.
It's so...
This is the breakfast problem. We are at the breakfast question. This guy doesn't understand hypotheticals.
Because we see Subaru
Almost
get brutalized?
defeat is not enough.
Because he gets
almost
decapitated?
defeat is not enough. He only understands that the enemy is actually difficult if you die to it and try again with an extra life. He doesn't understand it in Solo Leveling where you can't actually have the main character die repeatedly. He only has one life, so the fight has to be close. It has to be difficult. But you have to still win it in mostly one go.
And because Subaru
he doesn't get it.
Is just a kid or just a guy, he has no power, that's better than a growing hero or soldier, whatever you want to call him, in Solo Leveling, who has to train on a knife's edge every time and figure out how to win, despite being weaker.
From this, I have to... So either he's completely lying about his understanding of these shows and just making up that Solo Leveling is somehow worse because he needs a contrast, or he is truly specially regarded.
Yeah, no, he is so in love with One Piece and ReZero that he has to make this other stuff not as good. So he'll put these two on a pedestal and go, Solo Leveling, yeah, it's got some of that, but over here, here Subaru dies. You're like, what? Okay. Here, One Piece has more than one main character. You're like, okay, yeah. Good for you.
A world worth building and a whole bunch of existentially terrifying shit to keep the viewer who comes for the otherworldly power trip and stays for the bloody rug pulls engaged until the power trip comes back. But also, crucially, it does keep breadcrumbing that viewer along with a little taste of empowerment at the end of basically every arc so they know where it's going. One that's all the sweeter for the struggle to get there. Personally, I think it's silly to pretend that's that's not part of the show's appeal. To be embarrassed about enjoying good power fantasies just because there are so many bad and mediocre ones out.
So power fantasies are good if they're done right, and the only ones that are done right are One Piece and ReZero.
This guy's beyond help.
There are. I would argue most isekais are power fantasies, and there's a lot of them, and we've listed them before. And they may not be mainstream. Some of them are made into anime. Some of them are not as action-packed. But
Juni Koki is a female power fantasy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's about the social aspect.
It's...
Girl gets into the fantasy world and even transforms into one of the people there, gets more beautiful, and is super important and the center of the adventure, the center of the plot.
I wonder what this guy would say about jobless reincarnation, because it has slavery and all that stuff that the other kind of people don't like about anime, like the 40-year-old or 30-year-old trapped in the boy's body, and how that's perverted and disgusting. It's like, well, that's what makes the character interesting and the conflict interesting. Why didn't he solve slavery on the continent? It's like, because that's not the story. But there is that element in there in the setting. Would he like that or think that's gross? Like, what would he think? Would he play the double-faced guy again, where it's good because it's interesting and it's also good because it's bad? And I agree with my left-leaning weirdos who don't like slavery, or what. Like, what would he think of that? I'm very curious, because it seems as if he's constantly trying to play it both ways, where he's saying it's good, but I don't like it. You're like, it's not as good as this, but it's okay. It's like, well, what's your problem then? It's a very weird way to evaluate media.
Those legs look broken, the way they're drawn.
Yeah, well.
Oh god, who drew that? Oh my god.
It's just baggy pants, don't worry.
That's not. Oh.
I guess because cathartic empowerment is basic, and you're supposed to want.
What is cathartic empowerment? What is that? Is it the audience, or is the characters on the screen? Which one is? What are we talking about? I've heard the use of the word catharsis so many times. I always have to stop people and say, "What are you talking about?" The
I need to hear I want to hear the full sentence.
Ones out there, or I guess because cathartic empowerment is basic, and you're supposed to want more than that from the art you consume. Most genres of fiction are built around a shallow appeal to one of our baser wants. Regular fantasy and sci-fi lets us get away from it all. Romance plays to our...
I don't think that's why we have sci-fi. It's not just escapism. I really don't think Star Trek is all about escapism. I really don't think that.
Yeah. Science fiction has a much higher appeal. Science fiction is philosophy. That's when you have deal with real science fiction.
From a writer's technique of using science fiction is to provide plots or settings with plots that otherwise you cannot do anywhere else. And
we engage in ideas and see, here's an idea of a thing. And it can be a physical thing, as in technology. It can be a metaphysical thing. It can be a culture as a thing, and it's completely different from everything we know. And this is how it would play out. And I'll leave the judgment of whether that's good or bad up to you, the reader, the watcher, the audience.
In the same way,
that's science fiction.
Brandon Sanderson would say he wants the cool thing to get your attention, and then he'll explain the next 2 chapters about how that came about. You can do that in science fiction as well, to get you going, and then to keep you there, and to, oh wow, there's some science in there, there's some technology that makes sense, even if it's not like 100%, or maybe there's fusion power in the next 400 years, how that works, blah blah blah. Oh, I like fusion power. I've been reading up on that. It'll get those people into new sciences going. So there's ways to connect with the audience that is not impossible and does involve power. It can involve power fantasies, or at least technological power fantasies. So it's not just escapism. That's like the why do you read books? I'm tired of life and I want to escape. It makes me feel good. It's like yeah, that's why we do it. Yeah.
And that's then the people who
Action
read the things we talked about the past couple days.
Oh God.
That's literature.
Yeah.
That's escapism.
Our desire, connection, and affection. Horror tickles our amygdala, and mysteries make us feel like very smart boys who deserve a sticker. Nobody bats an eye when any of those genres produces a fine work of art or people say that they really love them. The base appeal at the heart of a power fantasy may be more appealing than most, but that just means that a good artist can use that appeal to draw an even bigger audience to their good art than they could with one of those other genres. And
Again, power fantasy is not a genre. It's a specific element of storytelling within a genre or a character within a genre that is doing the thing that, like, you can fly. And then that's like the cornerstone of the setting. So everyone can fly. There's some people who could fly better. There's a whole race of flyers. There's a school system, whatever. That's fine.
do include solo leveling in that good art category. It kind of is Shakespeare in that way.
Okay, so solo leveling is so bad. It's so bad it's Shakespeare. You understand? It's such a bad version of power leveling or power fantasy. It's Shakespeare. It is the worst, and it is the best. Does that make any sense? Is this guy? What is he saying? I don't get this guy. Is it okay? Leveling
I'm baffled.
In the good art category. Does he mean the visual art, like visual art stuff on the screen?
What is it's visual Shakespeare?
I don't know. What is he saying? Is it bad or good? Is it so good at Shakespeare? Is it so bad it's one dimensional?
Look, we talked about that scene before where I brought up it's Shakespearean, but I don't know in what context he even means that. That I'm baffled that he brings up the word now after I did before.
I think what's going on.
I don't think he knows what he's talking about at all.
Remember, he used the word orthogonal to explain adjacent or subplot. He's just using words.
He's pretentious.
He is using words.
It's just pretentious babble
for the sake of it, because he has no opinion either way. He's just making a video and he's saying, I like it, but it has problems. But those problems aren't bad, but they're not as good as ReZero. But ReZero is not perfect, but ReZero is better. But there's another one called One Piece, and that's really good, but that has an ensemble cast. But Solo Leveling has only one main protagonist, but it also has other cast members, but they're not as good as One Piece. It's like, this is his way of thinking. It just goes up and down and up and down. And it's like, is it good? No. Is it bad? No. It's like, what is it?
I have a bit of a flashback to how Red does her videos. Just that she uses more text and less visuals. She's
like a paragraph rambler. Like, she has a paragraph and she jarbles all the sentences, but she's in the ballpark. This guy's like, I don't like a thing, but this is a thing I do like. But it's also bad in this way, but it's kind of like the other thing I don't like, but that's good in that way. And it just keeps going back and forth and up and down. And you're like, dude, what is your point?
This guy's a complete fraud.
It's like, if I call you a genius, but you're also a moron, but you're really smart in this category, but you really suck in the other category, but I really like your lapel, but you have really crappy shoes. Maybe your hair could be better, but I really like your skin tone. Like, it's like all these up and down, backwards and forwards. Is it Shakespeare or is it shit? Which one? Is it the visual art or is it the storytelling? Is it something else that I don't know? Is it the power fantasy that's good, or is it bad? Which one? Pick a sign. Pick something. And then stay there so we can understand you.
context of his own time, when his greatest strength was giving the people what they wanted. Though obvious.
Wait a second. Wait. You just said it was Shakespearean in the capacity that Shakespeare gave people what they wanted? That's how it's Shakespearean? This is crazy. It's like Wisp, you're a really good person. In the same way people know how to lie very well to each other. You're very good at that.
What?
That's pretty much what he just said. Shakespeare is a guy who knows how to give the people what they want. And what they want is gladiatorial battles. You're like, what? Are you serious?
Guys, what the hell? What are words? He's never read Shakespeare. He's never seen a play. He doesn't know what people mean by that word. Oh my god, what a pretentious bastard fuckwit. Brain dead. Fraud. He's a fraud. He's just a fraud.
I want to read that one more time because it's such a silly thing to say.
Art category. It kind of is Shakespeare in that way. Shakespeare in the context of his own time, when his greatest strength was giving the people what they wanted.
That is such a...
That is insane.
Like, think of saying something super nice, like, you are like Shakespeare, if Shakespeare was an asshole. You know, it's like, what?
I don't even know how to counter that, because it's just... There was a thing about... There's the term, there's the category, so you can be right, you can be wrong, and then there's the category of not even wrong. He is not even wrong. The term comes from a professor who once corrected somebody's test or essay, and it was just so bad, it completely failed the topic, the question given, that he said, that he marked it not even wrong, because it wasn't even on topic, because the student didn't even understand the words of the assignment. This is what this is. He's not even wrong.
It feels like an underhanded way to describe a thing in the sense that he has an idea and he doesn't know what the words mean to say the idea. Like, you are like an artisanal coffee, but you don't know what an artisanal coffee is. You don't even like coffee. And then you have to say, well, if the coffee was like tea, because I do know tea, and if the tea was bitter and Earl Grey, and you're like,
ugh.
So I'm like a coffee that's actually Earl Grey tea. Is that what you're saying?
A bad one.
It's such a silly... It's the most bizarre... Like, why would you talk that way?
I'd like coffee if it was bad tea. What?
It's like, why would you say that?
Though, I think ReZero is way more Shakespeare. Still, there is some...
Oh, so ReZero is the Shakespeare if Shakespeare was the guy who gave people what they wanted. So
no, ReZero is better than Shakespeare.
No. Because he insulted Solo Leveling if Shakespeare was just some guy who handed out shit and that's what the people consumed because it was there. But ReZero is more of that. It's bigger than that. It's more. He doesn't even know how to get his insults. This is so backwards. I hate this. This is so dumb. It doesn't matter what he says anymore. He's so...
I've never heard you say that.
This is...
So
I've hated other... Like,
with a smile. I hate this.
This is so dumb. This is the best thing ever. If the best thing ever was shit.
Oh my...
Ted Bundy was a horrible person, but if he wasn't, he'd be you. Like, what the fuck?
He'd be selling shoes.
Yeah, Ted Bundy. Oh, God.
Anime that are simple, satisfying, and pretty to look at. I like looking at pretty things, and sometimes not thinking about them, too. Even if I did end up clearly thinking way.
I'm not sure you know how thinking works, dude. Not at this point. Not after the things you said. Holy carpet fire. You may think that you think. You may no. You don't think. You believe that you think. But you don't actually think. You don't know how that works. It starts with doubt, and you don't have any.
Here's a Frog Jupiter super chat to keep us grounded because we're losing our minds here. The problem with power fantasy anime is I'm not the main character. We need more black, mentally disabled trans Muslims in wheelchairs to relate to.
Thankfully, that is not a topic today.
Oh, God.
Too hard. Particular one. Though, of course, that also means that a bad or lazy artist can pull an outsized audience for their warmed-over dog shit just by chasing trends and instantly, endlessly bouncing on their blank slate Kirito's dick. And the ease with which that can be done basically guarantees that the crack-to-cocaine ratio in the market will...
What are you even saying? The crack to cocaine, the drug to the drug ratio, the deadly addiction to the deadly addiction in the market. What is this? They're both bad?
He has no clue what he's saying.
They're both bad. The bad thing to the bad thing ratio. It's like the death to the cancer is like, what the fuck?
He just uses words that he thinks sound cool. That's what he does. This is how narcissists talk. Vosh does this in a different manner, but he does the exact same thing.
I think he's just putting words together.
Yeah,
sound
exactly. Fun. Exactly, it's what I'm saying.
The crack to cocaine ratio, if the analogy is the addictive genre and the other addictive genre? What other addictive genre are we talking about? Power leveling or whatever, power fantasy is not a genre.
And no enigma, these are not the final 2 minutes. We are exactly on the 0 point of the final 2 minutes starting. It's just gonna get
you know what's gonna be?
now.
It's gonna be a Factor advertisement. He's gonna sell us more food.
Oh, that.
All lopsided. Also, lots of them just turn out to be lumps of baking soda. And like crack, I have seen it argued that the prevalence of all this slop has a negative effect on society.
What are you doing? Are you Jack Thompson from 2001? Anime is affecting your children's brains now? Is the music from the 80s hurting your religion? And if you listen to it backwards, you're going to be summoning demons?
God, I will.
Where did this come from? Why did you say that? The anime is having a negative impact on society because the power fantasy is too powerful or whatever. The violence is too violent. The sex is too sexy. Or what are you doing?
That hard work is meaningless, and if you don't have everything that you want just handed to you on a silver platter, you may as well give up while feeding.
No one is saying this. There is no study. If a theme of a power fantasy or an isekai is that a god comes by and zaps you and turns you into an autocaster, that children go, well, since God didn't give me any great gifts, I may as well not try in life.
The hardest working society on the planet. The hardest studying society on the planet. These people basically don't take breaks.
Where are we going? Why did you say this?
Men's feelings of entitlement and aggression.
Men's feelings of are we feminists?
In Japan, the country with one of the lowest crime rates on the planet. What the hell are you talking about?
Where did we get into the feminosphere of bashing men for watching anime? Or
you're right on the Jack Thompson bit.
This is. We didn't have to go from Jack Thompson to fourth wave feminism. We did not have to do that today.
This guy is absolutely deranged.
He had to throw his political mumbo jumbo in this for no reason. Always the last 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But like crack, I'd argue that millions of people clamoring for instant simulated social status because they're dissatisfied with life is...
Oh, we're bored. And anime is crack because it's a power fantasy. Oh, we're all a bunch of morons.
Because we're dissatisfied with life, and these stories tell us that if we work hard, we can get rewarded with cool stuff. Because that's what the good ones are all about.
The most popular manga in South Korea for, 8 years or whatever it was. Everyone's clamoring for an anime adaptation for years and years. They're a bunch of losers.
Solo leveling, you just get everything handed to you. You just always on the brink of death, but it's just handed to you. No effort taken.
What is this?
Is not the disease, and there's definitely worse ways to self-medicate, like crack, at least with power fantasy.
You just said it was crack. Now you're saying it's literal. Now you're saying there's literal crack, which is worse. He is just using words. I do not make an analogy with the word and then say the literal word is a comparison to say it's worse. That's confusing. It's as wet as water, but you know what's more wet than water? Water. What?
That craving might lead you to something like ReZero, Mob Psycho, or Stormlight that can show you a good time and a better way. But even if you just have a good time for an hour or 6, that's worth a lot in these trying times. And if you're looking for a new...
Oh, so if you're entertained, that's fine.
What is this man's criteria again?
32 minutes and 33 seconds. This is shit, but if you're having fun, that's okay.
Are you entertained? Okay.
It's good.
What? Why did you make this video, you buffoon? You only made it as an excuse to get clicks so you have an income and can play an ad. You are an intellectual fraud.
Wisp, if you like solo leveling, you have no interest in life. You're a loser addicted to crack. And you have no opinions. But if you liked it, then it's okay.
I would sell the crack and buy a better drug.
What? Why did you say that? You just defeated your entire video is pointless. It's like it's a bad anime, but if you like it, it's good. What? Star Wars The Phantom Menace is a horrible movie, but if you like it, that's okay.
How did you even comment on that?
Life is tough. Did you find something you liked? Oh, then that's okay. It's good.
1.4 million subscribers. Considering the forgot his real name. This is Pirate Nation idiot. Fraud. Who talks pretty much in a similar manner. How many of his 1.39 million subscribers are bots?
I don't want to know. Anyway, we got another super chat, and then I'm going to calm down and get some tea and chill out because this is... Wow. I can't remember. Did we blacklist this guy? Because it's...
No. But please, if you resuggest him, make it something worthwhile.
This is
because we can't do this too often. This is just horrible. And now we know how he operates, so that the novelty is out.
I think we knew he does the positive and the negative in the same paragraph. Like he says it's good, it's also bad. It keeps doing that. It's just like, okay, this is like some weird schizophrenic trying to appease the fans and the hate. Like he's trying to get both. Just say everything, and people don't listen too closely, and then everybody hears what they want, and then ignore the rest. All right,
that's usually what you do for. There's another minute, Smud.
I know. Let me just read a super chat. We'll keep going. Frog Jupiter for the 5. Thank you, sir. Mate suppression. Men watching power fantasy anime is bad because either it promotes sexism, misogyny left, or is degenerate right. Birth rate go down.
Yeah. Well, the right is just a controlled opposition of the left, so it's actually also.
All right. Well,
That's
again,
how it works.
I'm hoping he sells us some stupid food. That'd be better than listening to what other crazy thing he's going to say in the next one.
Oh, I know why he is the way he is. Because he eats from Factor, he has too much microplastics in his brain. There's already an entire spoonful of an entire spoon of microplastics.
Oh God. I know
Only needs a
Factor
couple
because
grams.
my neighbors take it, and I talk to them about it, and they say we have no time to cook. It's like go shopping. We have no time to go shopping. It's like, what are you doing in your life?
Yeah. If you cooking doesn't take long.
It's not supposed to take too long unless you're doing like this crazy French course meal. Then it's
Yeah. So
take
if
all
you
day.
if you don't know how to cook anything yet, okay, it will take some more time, like any other skill that you're not fluent in. But once you do know the basics and can execute them, like cut an onion, that it doesn't take long. It's a few minutes. Like you probably spend more time on the shitter than you spend cooking at that.
Yeah,
once you know how to cut an onion.
I have my normal grilling steak process, and the steak I bought was a I can't remember the cut, but it had lots of membrane on it. I wasn't aware of that, and then I fried it normally, and then couldn't chew it. Threw it into a pot, stewed it for an hour in the pressure cooker, ate it the next day. You know, you learn as you go. It doesn't
That's already experimenting higher level stuff. But like start super simple. Throw a couple eggs in the pan. They're done
in a minute.
way under 10 minutes.
Oh,
and I'm just saying 10 minutes because that's a time frame people can deal with. But it's gonna be way less than that. And you'll figure out how to actually open eggs eventually so they don't go everywhere. And you figure out, I can use the eggshells as fertilizer if I grind them down if I want to take that effort. But on the other side, you buy some burger patties from somewhere and throw them into the pan and see how long it takes to make those. That's also just a few minutes.
All right, let's one more super chat and we'll keep on going. This is from Tyler Preston. Thank you, sir. How's it going, buddy? Is Mother's Basement equal to or more schizo than to Mage Mayfish? Okay. Maggie is her own person.
This is a different dimension entirely. It's not even Maggie is not even three-dimensional.
What she is, we don't know, but she is her own creation. Let's give her that. This dude is the guy who wants friends in school, so he just appeals to everyone by saying the same thing over and over again, and unfortunately, those people were also feminists and I don't know what you call anti-male sentimentality, but it's definitely
feminist.
It's definitely in the same boat. And
that's the actual core of feminism. The ones who are not like that, they just believe that feminism is totally not that, but a totally nice thing about equality.
We just saw that at the end. He wasn't like that through the video, but he just threw that in the end for no reason. That's when you know they're not lying to you. Because it always happens. The last 2 minutes, they just say whatever they want off the top of their heart, and it's crazy and brutally honest. And the way he talks and the way he moves his hands, I don't think he's trying to lie. Mm-hmm. He actively thinks this. And he's either very confused or he's like apologetic at the point where he's saying, this is bad, but it's also good. And then he runs with that idea and he keeps doing that over and over. So we get confused. I don't know exactly if he likes solo leveling, but I do know he likes it less or even dislikes it in relation to One Piece and ReZero, which is amazing to him. And I don't know why you're comparing those things.
It pays the bills.
They're not even the same genre. But because there's a power fantasy element, which is like whoop-de-doo, someone has superpowers in an anime, woo, never heard of that before. He likes the one he likes better. That's all. And the rest is all his gobbledygook of vocabulary he doesn't understand. Orthogonal.
I think they're overusing the term power fantasy.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not even a defined term. He just went with it and just started talking about stuff he liked.
What I would expect when somebody talks about a power fantasy that is actively fantasizing about being super strong. That is not what these stories do.
In a lot of isekai, they don't want to be super strong. They want a certain goal. They want to be happy. They want to live a slow life. They want that guarantee that that's going to happen. So the god is like, okay, we're going to give you this, and that will protect you and whatever. And they're like, great. Now, some of them, I guess like Subaru or other, not Subaru, Konosuba or other story, they actively want some strength, but the whole joke is that you're not going to get it. Or with Eminence and Shadow, he ridiculously got magic powers by killing himself to the point, I'm going to get myself magical powers or I'll die, and he dies. He gets magical powers anyway. So.
Reframe it as any other skill than throwing magic fireballs or slaying the dragon. Like, make it learning music. You get thrown somewhere, you have a new life, and now you pursue music. You want to be the best musician ever, and so you train really hard, and you have setbacks, but you get to be a super awesome musician. Is that a power fantasy? Is that a power? Or is that just a skill that you acquire and work hard for? And is that a skill that you, in this case this guy here on screen, doesn't have, and therefore calls a power fantasy because he doesn't have that skill right now? Because that's what it starts to sound like to me, what he's doing, by calling everything a power fantasy.
Like even the realist hero who rebuilds a kingdom, he has some magical powers. He can manipulate phantoms. I think his phantom magic, so they can help him write, and he could sign more forms in his administration, so he can do more work.
It's a creative application of a very low-level thing.
Yeah, and there's
the cantrip.
There's the whole idea of him being a sovereign or being a regent, so that he has a wife who's going to be queen, and they have various, not concubines, but just adjacent queens, so that there's like peace between the Elven kingdom and then this kingdom or that kingdom. So there's all political marriages. I wouldn't call that a power fantasy, but you are powerful. You are a king. You are bringing irrigation to this medieval world, and you're keeping it alive, etc. So there's lots of political maneuvering going around. You could call that a power fantasy because you are in power, and he's trying to be as low-key as possible without trying to cause other kingdoms to come after him, etc. So, yes, that is power. That is a power. Politics is a form of power. So we don't think in terms of power fantasies because it's not action-packed. It's not explosions and fight scenes. But it's the same idea. It's something you want that you can't get in reality, so it's a fantasy setting. But some stories that do have very powerful characters, like the Night King who returned with a god, is one of my favorites. And it's funny. It's gotten to the point where the drama and the comedy are always the highlights, and all the gods and all the demons and all that stuff, that's just sort of secondary. It's kind of like watching Babylon 5, the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's the plot's always going to be there. There's always the shadows and what have you, but it's really about what's happening with the Narn and what's going on with Londo and Jakar. That's what it boils down to. That's the focus. Mm-hmm. I would think that's where you get most of the drama. That's what people really like.
That and a couple absolutely amazing and I'd say historically relevant Portal episodes.
And that's when you realize this doesn't have to be a science fiction. This doesn't have to be anything. The genre doesn't matter. This could have started off as a fantasy. This could have started off in the modern world. What matters is the characters, what they want, and how they go about getting it. And that's why we talk about Sun Jin Woo. It doesn't matter he's going to be the Shadow Monarch or whatever. He just wants to save his mom. That's it. That's his one goal. And he gets it. And it's just this little thing. And the audience is like, holy crap, he made the elixir. It took him 100 levels. He found, what's her name? And she had to figure out how to get to level 100 and kill the thing and get the elixir components. And he gets it. And it's like, wow, he did it. And then this thing on the side is, a bunch of ants trying to take over the world. What the fuck? It's this whole dramatic thing where they lost all their friends the last time they tried. They just can't do it. And then this guy who's like this demigod says, I'm going to help you. Uh-oh, there's something more. It's kind of like when Batman realizes there's aliens. And it's no longer about Gotham. There's a bigger world out there. And he's forced to talk to Superman and Wonder Woman.
Batman didn't even care about the rest of the planet. Only about his city.
Exactly. Anyway, one more minute. Please sell us some food, Mr. Mama's Basement.
I would like some food right now.
All right.
Tasty.
To enjoy during work or commute time when you can't watch anime, I'd like to once again recommend checking out the Cradle series on audiobook. I had to scrap a longer section on it because I felt like more familiar anime examples would help you guys get my points better, but the last quarter of why I wrote this video is that I got obsessed with these books and binged all of them last year, and I had an absolute blast. For anyone who enjoys Brandon Sanderson...
So you don't care. So, remember he said half the reason he did this was for the clicks, and now a quarter of the reason is because he liked reading a book series last year. So that means 1/4 of this video titled "The Problem with Power Fantasy Anime" is about that topic. Everything else is for money, and he liked something he read last year.
Great.
What an amazing YouTuber this guy is.
Will White offers similarly great hard magic action at a much faster pace with jokes that are actually funny.
Jokes are funny.
Oh wait, now fast pace is good? I thought you wanted the slow minutia with excruciating detail.
I'm impressed that he finds jokes funny, because that's why.
There must be very simple jokes.
That's why we have comedy. It's just. He could have said, I like the humor that Sanderson provides, not jokes that are actually funny. It's like, okay.
Shakespeare is hilarious if you do get the humor.
Yeah, drama that's actually dramatic. Like, no kidding. What an idea.
And Travis Baldry is an amazing narrator. It's like shonen anime for your ears. I'm
Shonen anime for your... You're not selling me on the fantasy, dude.
Wait. You know you can read books with your eyes? Bloody hell.
This is the audiobook. He's
the ultimate consumer.
Don't read it. Listen to it.
He can't do anything active. Reading is active, listening is passive.
What's his name?
That are actually funny. And Travis Baldry is an amazing narrator. It's like shonen anime for your ears. I'm Jeff Thu, professional guy who forgot to write an outro for this video. Goodbye.
Jeff? His name is Jeff Through?
I don't know. I don't care. These people are wasting their money.
If you have a teacher like that, run. Leave. Never mind the course. Get out of the whole school. If they hired that guy. To teach anything. Woo. Good luck with your education or your sense of English.
Demand your money back.
Okay, we got
and throw the lemons at him.
we got some stream. Oh, wait a second. He's got an anime. What is that? Basement Life.
No.
He's got 2 channels. I don't care anyway.
No.
Stream memes. Here we go.
Stream memes. Yay.
While the male power fantasy is a well-known phenomenon in fiction, the female power fantasy of being maximally desirable despite having below-average looks goes largely undiscussed.
Uh-huh.
All
Good
right.
point.
And this is that wonderful anime of the guy who saves all the girls, and the girls love him, but he's too dumb to figure this out. That doesn't narrow it down, but even the goddess.
I love the little sprinkle of the water. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's very well animated. Yeah, it is the music is very good too. So it's very high production value. But even the goddess on the right loves the guy. Like just constant affection, but he's too dumb.
It's endearing.
Translation of what Mother's Basement is saying. Okay. Soul leveling is like Shakespeare. Oh, yeah, thanks. If Shakespeare gave out people what they wanted, not as if it was a good thing.
Like the tragedy at the end is actually Shakespearean.
Male entitlement, crack, good time. I give trying up to understand this head case. That's a ever increasing bottle of whiskey. Oh.
It's a good one.
That was it. Wow, thank guys. Let's go to get some tea, go to bed.
Let's go to bed.
Do something more productive than that.
Okay.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
What an anime day. That just hurt.
No, I don't want to watch Holy Hell right now. That is too tough.
3 hours and a half of... if I were to cover this guy, I would just pause every paragraph and dude, listen, you just contradicted yourself again. You changed the word you just used again. Do you like the show or not? Just tell me plainly, please. Don't compare it to anything. Just say what's right and wrong. And don't change your opinion, please. Because as soon as he said, if you're getting some enjoyment out of it, it's good. You're like, oh, fuck. Like this, like the subjective argument just came out of nowhere. Like, why did you say that? Anyway, we got to finish off that other video tomorrow. If you want to do it, Wisp, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Woman who doesn't like the sex in the other women's books. She doesn't like to read.
It'll feel better.
We've already went through 2 of them, so I guess another video screening will be no big deal. It's almost done anyway.
Look, she's cute and she's funny.
She's okay.
And her sentences make sense.
She makes sense. She does make sense. Her arguments are weak, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, people, thank you for your time. Have a good one. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a good day. Good morning. That sort of thing. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.